So you want to be a man. Be tough. Sick of getting your ass kicked. Well, you don't need all that karate shit your granddad did. It's worthless. Here, boy. I said here. Take it! You don't want it. Do as you're told! There you go. Finish it. That's right. Now then, let's go see your sister. One of the most asked questions I get on this channel is where the song that I play in the warning is from. There's something about that particular song that strikes people in such a way to make them feel some real primal form of terror. And that's why I use it for the warning, so people pay attention. I first heard it in an Iceberg video of sorts a couple of years ago before my YouTube channel blew up. And I had the same reaction of, wow, this song is like fear incarnate. Well, that is for a good reason, because it comes from a game that is not necessarily a horror game, and it's even funny at times, but a game that embodies true real-life horror unlike any other I've ever seen. And that is what we are going to go over today. The very real hopelessness and horror and realness of the game series known as Lisa, by a publisher known as Dingaling, and yes, that's really the name. This is a series of 3 games that are some of the most real and life-ruining themes I have ever seen in a game. And at the same time, this is the same game series that has this. No, this is not a joke. This game has some of the best representation of trauma and real themes I have ever seen. The series of games contains Lisa the First, which is a Yume Nikki style walking simulator that is only about an hour long, but it is very disgusting and real in its storytelling, and it's very horrible. Then the second game, which is the longest and by far the best in my opinion, is known as Lisa the Painful, an extremely fun game that is very reminiscent of Earthbound or Mother. It clearly has a lot of influence from that game, and the combat system is pretty damn good for an RPG Maker game as well. It is definitely longer and lasts about 7 hours. It builds on the disgustingly real premise of the first game, and the ending is also where that warning song comes from. And that ending is the most heartbreaking ending I have ever seen. Then finally is Lisa the Joyful, which isn't really a game, rather a DLC for Lisa the Painful, but it is more of the same of that one. However, it gives some extra context and expands on the story to either a good conclusion or a devastating one. In this video, we are going to go over all of the gameplay and story of this series of games because I truly believe that this is a masterpiece of a story. And we are going to do things a little different in this video. We're going to start out with an intro, where we go over the piece of media and a little bit about its author and creator, but this time we're going to summarize each of the 3 entries of games. And then finally, we're going to have a decent sized analysis at the end like normal. Without getting further into the intro, let us get into Dingaling Productions' Lisa. Let's start with the original, Lisa the First. Lisa the First was uploaded on October 9th, 2012. The game is significantly less popular than the 2 sequels, as it is not so much a game as it is an experience, a story. You play as a girl named Lisa Armstrong. This game is simple. You just have to walk through a few puzzles and explore the story. It's not a normal chronological story though. It's pretty avant-garde and abstract, which makes sense given the circumstances. So let's get into the gameplay. What actually is this game? How does it start? Well, it's a top-down view style game, and it starts with you, Lisa. It gives no introduction, and it just throws you in a room. You are in this room, and it's not a very clean-looking room. Inspecting the bed indicates that the sheets are filthy, and checking the dresser says, he took everything away. Whoever he is. Leaving the room, you will hear a TV somewhere. This hallway has a locked door, which Lisa will say, he always keeps this locked, as well as some blood stains and broken bottles. The only open door is to the west. Once you go in it, you are now in the main part of the house. There's a few religious symbols, but the only thing that is really noteworthy is if you go down the stairs. There is a balding man watching TV next to a bunch of broken beer cans. Going anywhere near him will have him say, "Get back to your room," and then it will reset you to the starting room. So it looks like you're going to have to sneak around him. Doing so will put you in an old top-down view of a house near the woods. The only thing to do is run far away from this household. But after a while, the ground's normal dirt paths will turn red, and the background will be that balding man's face overlapped like a pattern, overlaid with the color of pink and red. The further you go, the further the TV can be heard again. You will then be on an invisible path with just the background, and it's trippy. And at the end, the balding man stands in your way. He will ask you, "You're trying to run out on me again, aren't you?" Saying no, he will tell you to go home then, coward. If you say yes, he will just be silent and say, "You can't run away forever." After which you will be transported to the main part of the game. The game calls this place the lobby. It's a blank blue room with handles. Going up from here will give you several different paths you can go through. A red door, a gray ladder, a gray door, a rope, a yellow door, and a red ladder. Each will be a different path that gives you different things you need to continue. Some paths are blocked until you get items from other paths. There's also a TV in this room where you can replay VHS tapes, which are Lisa's memories. If you hit escape on the keyboard, this will let you see your inventory, but instead of a normal inventory system, you'll be transported to another room where you can see all your items. You need 9 items to complete this game, each with some relevance to the story. This will be exploring Lisa's psyche and her feelings about being in this clearly abusive household with that balding man, obviously her father. It's easiest if we go in order in terms from the doors and pathways forward from left to right. So let's start with the red door. You are put in a generic looking forest. Climbing up near a dirty couch will be a pair of work gloves. These give you the power to move large rocks, like using strength in a Pokemon game. If you choose to go into your inventory here, you'll be transported to a room, like normal. And if you take a look, the gloves will be in this frame in the middle, showing that you have collected this item. Going south in this inventory room, you will see this weird looking guy, who is vaguely penis shaped. He will say that, "Oh, he's just waiting, don't mind him," whatever that means. So just go back to the first area again. There will be some simple puzzles in those woods for you to do, and you should just continue up the woods into the mountains. At the top, you will see that Lisa's father is just sitting in the water. Okay. Continuing past, there will be a pink house. Inside will once again be Lisa's father. He'll tell you a secret. There's a hidden path beneath one of the houses. To the east of this house will be another one of Lisa's father, and he will constantly chase you, though he will do nothing when he gets to you, and he will only say, "You can never escape me," which is pretty on the nose if this is Lisa's psyche that we are walking in here. Her father is abusive, and she feels like she cannot escape her abusive household and abusive father. He keeps appearing because it's all she thinks about. Let's continue. There's an outhouse nearby that has another father in it. Talking to him, he will just say, "You think my struggle's funny?" and nothing else. So, it seems like her father is struggling with something and is unjustly taking it out physically on his daughter. Further east past another puzzle is a rope you can climb down, with another distorted father who is staring directly in the sun. North of that is a bar, which is filled with Lisa's dads, like 20 of them. It does have some kick-ass music though in the background, but it appears all of these fathers are drunk. Some of them will say he has to fuck you, and some say he isn't breathing. In the bathroom of this bar is a guy who says he is the bartender, who is also Lisa's father again, but he doesn't want to work right now. Talk to him twice and he will give you a bottle of rum. In the other bathroom of this bar is another father figure just lying there, passed out, drunk with vomit on the floor. Leaving the bar and going west from here will show you a cement house. Inside this house will be another father. He will tell you to stop talking and give him some rum, which we have. He will then give you a red key in return. Then there is that hidden path behind this house that we talked about earlier, where you will find yet another father, who will give you a banana. And yes, that is obviously a not so subtle implication of not only physical abuse Lisa gets from her father, but he probably essays her as well. And it's not just this one possibly innocuous reference here, it's pretty obvious what her father does to her from later things in the story. Continuing, there's a house to the south that doesn't have a ton of information, but to the north is a red gate, which you can use the red key on, believe it or not. Going down these stairs, we'll have another couple of rock puzzles on the red floor. Do these and find another father sitting on the couch down there. Talk to him and he will beg you for a banana, and he will say he'll give you something really good in return though, which if you give him the banana, he'll just give you a banana peel. Further on is a rope that goes straight up, and a staircase that goes straight down. If you go up the rope, the grass turns pink, and the mountain takes on a vaguely phallic shape. At the top is once again that weird penis-shaped guy who says, "You'll never forget, you slut. I'll always be in your mind." Ignore him, and this time go down the stairs. Down there you can find a blank background with a bunch of broken bottles and flowers all over. The only thing of note in this field of flowers is a box. Inside the box is a razor. Take it. Go back up to the phallic mountain and slit the throat of the penis-looking guy. He will bleed out and die, to which a bridge will open below, and when you walk across it, he will once again be there, and he will say, "You really think that'll work? You have to swallow me to get it over with." He blocks the way, and you can no longer continue here. So go back to the lobby. We'll backtrack to this area later. If we go up the second path up the silver ladder in the lobby, we will be met with a crossroads, a ladder that goes down on the other side of the mountain, and a gray door. Going down the ladder is just another father, but he appears to just be mumbling to himself, so ignore him. But if we go up into the door on the mountain, there is just a blank white room. There's nothing here for you other than a few things that don't really mean anything. If you walk between two statues, however, the ground will turn to blood, and the flowers to maggots, and the bushes to eyeballs. You can find various fathers here in several positions, but they just make a weird noise when interacted with. If you wander around here in this pink version of the map for a while, you will find a staircase leading downward somewhere. Going down, you can find a plastic bag. Pick it up. And if you go back up the stairs, it'll be white again. But if you interact with any of the fathers that are roaming around now, it will give a little heart. Maybe indicating that he isn't always abusive. Maybe at some point, maybe when he's not drunk, he is somewhat loving. But that makes it a lot harder when he abuses her. But we're done with this area. Go back to the lobby. The third path is a gray door, and that leads to a room with a waterfall and another father and a lake. There's also a statue on the right side of the screen here, and you can interact with it, but it just says it has a small hole in the crotch. You can do nothing here for now, so just move on to the fourth path. This one is the rope, and it's just a long-ass rope all the way to the top. And at the top, there's just a severed hand giving you the finger. That's legit it. It's a troll thing. There's nothing even here. Just leave it. This could be considered a joke or a nod to what her father does to her. Either way, let's move on. The fifth path is the yellow door, and if you go in it, you'll be in a shallow lake. There is a few things here, like a bunch of fathers swimming, one of which will ask for a banana peel, which you have. Give it to him, and he will just strangely float into the ceiling and give you a napkin. A little more north is a large amount of fathers around an island with a bunch of cattails on it. You can use your razor blade here. Going down the stairs on this island will put you in a floating hallway, and to the right will be a dead end. And if you go that way, a bunch of little fathers in the shape of spiders will appear and corner you and kill you, which will reset the room. Get used to this. Go north this time and see some weird disco-colored tiles on the floor, as well as some more father spiders. This is the second hardest room in the game. You have to stop and go appropriately to get across this entire room of spiders, and it might take you a while. But it shouldn't be too bad. Doing so and going up the red ladder at the end of it will give you a bottle of pills with that red tiled face of Lisa's father in the background rapidly moving. I'd show it, but it is a total epilepsy warning, so just trust me. After, you can go back to the lobby. Now that you have the bottle of pills, go back to the first door and talk to the penis-headed guy we left behind that said you needed to swallow him, and give him the pills. He will swallow them and fall asleep, or die. Maybe something Lisa did to spare her father's wrath for a night. Go down the stairs he was blocking and find nothing but a sword. Take that sword, and before we use it, we should go in the final door. This is a very bad room. It is known as the bile room. Everything is discolored and vomit looking. You can find weird, disgusting morphs of Lisa's dad inside. Inside a red house in the bile room, you can find a mansion-like interior with vomit all over it. Her father is in the corner, disfigured, and it just shows how disgusting Lisa's life here is in her household. Then there's a father overlooking a pond nearby as well, and he looks like he is cranking his hog, if you know what I mean. If you give him the napkin, he will give you a finger in return. After you get that, go left until you find another red house with seemingly no door. However, you can actually access this from the top left side. Doing so will put you in a room with a big cross. Touch it, and the basement will open up. Going downstairs in this place is by far the most annoying room in the game, but at least the music is good. It is a twisted hallway with a bunch more father spiders and puzzles that are significantly harder to get past without being caught. I, no joke, spent like 45 minutes in this room. There's 2 puzzles at the bottom that combine moving rocks and dodging spiders at the same time. You have to trap spiders with rocks to even think about getting past them. It is very hard and you are going to fail a lot. Once you get through, you will see the penis head man again. Put the plastic bag you got earlier over his head and he will drop the first VHS tape. Now you can leave this room. Take the finger you got from the last area and go up the silver ladder again in the lobby. And then go down the ladder on the mountain where your father was mumbling to himself a bit ago. Give him the finger and he will give you the second VHS tape. Finally, go to the gray door from earlier and put the sword in the statue's crotch. This will lead you to the last area you need to be in this game, the mansion. It's huge and empty. You can explore it a while if you would like, but you will probably get lost. The important thing here is at the very bottom of the mansion, which at the very end is a huge amorphous blob of your father. He's all bloody and disgusting and body horrific. You'd be forgiven if you think this was a dead end, because I did and I had to look up what to do. However, if you enter his left side, there's a hidden room. You will now be inside your father. There's not much here other than a red background and a trail of vomit and flowers to the top, where you will find yourself. Interacting with yourself will turn you into your father, which will then turn the screen black. It will then transport you back to the lobby. But there will be a new item on the ground. A necklace with a cross. Take it. It is the last item you need. The last thing to do, other than watching the VHSs at the end, is to go back to your inventory screen and go south to interact with the penis head man in your inventory. However, he's no longer there. Now it's just a candle. Interact with it and you will be back in the real world. Leave your room one last time, and when you go to the living room, it'll all be pitch black. Go north to find your father naked. He will simply say, "You're wasting your time." You will be transported to a completely white room with nowhere to go. Marty, your father, will talk to you and give you a speech before it ends. He will say, "You really don't get it, do you? You really thought you could forget. Why are you trying so hard? Accept it. You can't fight something that already happened. There's no understanding, no purpose. There's only life. And this one is yours. Accept it. I'm here to stay." The screen will then fade to red, and then it'll be Marty's face as the background. Overlaid on the screen will say, "The end." However, it's not over, obviously. First things first, during this ending sequence with that speech, if you go straight to the left, you will find a third VHS tape. We now have all 3 VHS tapes to watch that will give us the full story here. Reset the game and go back to the lobby. Go up to the TV and use the VHSs. The first one is titled Tricky Rick. All it is that pink mountain again. Going down, it will show you that penis-headed man, and he will say, "Hi, I'm Tricky Rick. I like exploring caves, and I like friction. I'm a sensitive guy, too, but you already knew that, didn't you? I hope to see you soon. Don't run too far." So yes, if it wasn't clear, Marty, Lisa's own dad, exploited her in a very bad way. Tricky Rick is a dramatic representation of his, well, you know. The second VHS tape is called Marty, her father's name. In this one, a nice xylophone song can be heard, and you play as Marty. All you have to do is go up in this room and see yourself. And Lisa. Having a tea party. and they're happy. Maybe it's all Marty wants. But obviously, Marty's a monster, and he doesn't deserve a happy life like this. The final VHS tape and the final part of the game has no name. Using it will transport you to a slowed down version of that xylophone song, and the background is Marty's face repeating again. But this time it's white and pure. Go north and see a woman, Lisa's mother. She will be facing away from the camera. Talk to her and she will call you by name. She will say she's sorry, but the text gradually gets more distorted. When she turns around, it's Marty's face and not her mother's, symbolizing that Lisa doesn't remember her own mother's face. The only thing that fills her head now is the trauma of what Marty did to her. Marty's face. It will say, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to die. Don't run, Lisa, please! And it will fade to black. And then it will just say, game over, with static. And it will close the game. But that's the entirety of Lisa the First. It's very obvious what happened in it, and I explained it as we played. An extremely horrible situation and a disturbingly sad story. Something that is probably, unfortunately, not all that uncommon. But where can the story go from there? With something as heavy and horrible as that, what could follow it? Oh yeah, Lisa the Painful. A game that is much more of a game and less of a story walking simulator. So let's get into Lisa the Painful, the best of the three games. Lisa the Painful was released on December 15th, 2014. The game is both more depressing and serious, and less depressing and serious at the same time. I know that doesn't make sense, but let me land. The game is a masterpiece in my opinion. It's funny, it's serious, it's got kick-ass music, a fun gameplay loop similar to Earthbound, and an ending that made me cry. Unironically, something I would call a masterpiece. I have heard about this game for a long time, and I watched a video essay on it a long time ago by someone, and I kind of forgot about it until a couple years ago. Then I played it. Then when I played it, I was so surprised by how unknown this game series is, because of how amazing this second entry is. I don't know how it's so underground. It's gotten a little more popular recently, but it deserves to be up there with games like Undertale and Deltarune in my opinion. The story is just so touching, and the gameplay is so fun, and the game is so strangely funny at times. But I'm gonna stop ranting about it. Let us get into Lisa the Painful. If you don't believe me that this game is a lot different from the last paragraph, loading up the game will show you that the two games couldn't be any more different. Instead of a normal RPG Maker top-down camera game where you explore the very real trauma of a little girl through her psyche, Lisa the Painful is a post-apocalyptic revenge story with a 2D side-scroller type camera. But I promise you, it relates to the first game's story, and even significantly improves on it. So let's hit start. It'll start with some music, a really good track at that, but then the screen will rapidly turn red as if someone's getting punched. There will be an argument between two characters about one of them stealing something. A third character will then step in and claims that, actually, he stole it, to seemingly cover for the first character. You don't have to cover for me, Brad. And then there's more flashes, as if he's getting punched again. Then we finally see this Brad character who got beaten up badly is who we control. A little kid with black hair. 3 other kids seem beaten up near him as well, and 4 who seem like bullies walk away and laugh at their work. The 3 beaten up kids thank Brad, saying he didn't have to cover for them. These 3 kids' names are Rick, Sticky, and Cheeks. Yes, really. One thing you can do now as Brad is walk beaten and battered back to your own home. Walk through several neighborhoods until you see a broken and disgusting looking house. Walking inside will show you who else but Marty, the dad from the first game. It seems that Brad is probably another child of Marty. When you walk in, Marty will look over on a beer-stained couch towards Brad and will say, "Once again, my son steps into my house, beat to shit." He will then violently throw a bottle at Brad's head. Brad just takes it and stays silent. Marty then points and screams at his son, "I'm not buying you another shirt! Worthless shit, kid! Go to your room!" Seems like Lisa wasn't the only victim of her father's wrath. Go upstairs and find 3 doors. The left one is Marty's room and it's always locked. The middle one is Brad's room, but going here will advance the story. But the right door will have a crib, with just a baby alone in it, neglected. More than likely, this is Lisa. So Brad is her big brother, quite a bit older from the looks of it. However, one might wonder why Brad isn't shown in the first game. Strange. Go to your room, and Brad will just sit on his dirty bed and cry himself to sleep. A baby can be heard in the background, Lisa, obviously, his little sister. But as the baby cries, it transitions to a lot later. Probably 20 or 30 years later. Brad is older. He has a beard and looks a lot like Marty, but he has a full head of hair. He is staring at little blue pills, perhaps some sort of drug. He contemplates taking it. The baby continues to cry, however, through the scene. Brad takes this pill, and the game informs you that Brad has taken the joy. More than likely some sort of drug. Brad then looks in the direction of the crying and finds a baby. He is stunned, astonished by this for some reason. He just says, there, little buddy, not really knowing what to do. He throws the baby in the air a few times, but accidentally drops it, and looks around to see if anyone saw it, and apologizes profusely to the child. He then says, come on, little buddy, let's get you somewhere safe. And then you are given the reins of Brad to take the child home. But it doesn't look like the normal world you and me live in, or even the normal world that the previous scene showed when Brad was a kid. Now, everything's all barren and arid, like a nuke went off or something. Brad gets to his house, which is little more than a rock with a door in it, and sees his friends. The same ones from the beginning, but obviously grown up as well. They all look at him astonished as well at the child. They all say, holy shit, is that a baby? That's impossible, one of them says. And then someone else says, there has to be a woman around then. Time out. You might not think that it's weird to imply a woman is nearby, but I'm going to break the immersion and explain something real quick. In this game, the world has had an apocalypse of some sort. Not one like you might think with nukes or anything, but this one was called the Flash, or the White Flash, which nothing happened in, except all of the women on the planet disappeared. Or died, maybe. It's not really clear. So this world is a world of only men, which has a lot of implications, but you'll see these implications full force throughout the game. Okay, time in. They then ask the ever-pressing question, is the baby a boy or a girl? Brad says he didn't check, but then he does and says, the girl. The only girl on the entire planet. Brad's friends say they have to tell someone about this. What about Rando? He has a huge army and the means to protect this child. Plus, he'd probably give them all the cool stuff they'd ever want in exchange. However, Brad looks at his friends and says, no. No one can know I have her. She is a baby now, but she'll be a woman in no time. She won't stand a chance out here. His friends look at him and say, he's insane. That makes no sense. Rando would be better equipped for this. Besides, does he know what would happen if someone found out? Brad sternly says he doesn't care. He's keeping her. He doesn't care if his friends help him or not. This is his second chance. His friends are confused, but say, okay, if he's that serious about it. He ends the scene by saying, don't worry, little buddy. I won't let anyone hurt you. After this, there is a montage of that kid being cared for by Brad and his friends, and then Brad off to the side contemplating taking that joy drug again. Then the next montage is him and his friends building a secret room for the baby, then Brad walking in the wasteland, seeing his father and baby sister, Lisa, in a vision or hallucination. He takes the joy and the vision goes away. It seemingly helps him forget. Then the next montage shot is the girl grown a little, and Brad high on the floor passed out. She tries to leave the house, but Brad quickly leaves too and throws her back inside. Then Brad surrounded by beer bottles, and the girl crying in the basement. It seems he isn't too different from his own dad Marty himself. Though I don't think Brad ever essayed the girl, just was probably physically abusive. He keeps staring at the joy, and eventually he throws it off a cliff. The next shot is him making a mask and giving it to the young girl so she can go outside and not be seen. He takes her out, and they find a flower. Something rare nowadays after the Flash. He gives it to her, and then she does the normal daughter stuff, like putting makeup on her dad and her friends, And then the next shot is Brad once again seeing his father in a vision. He runs away from it, but is met by Lisa. He then leaves and finds some joy on the ground. And then he just stares at it, contemplating his addiction to this drug. Finally, he wakes up from a drug-fueled bender and hears a dog. You can walk over and see a strange man in a yellow shirt being barked at by a dog as he hides in a tree. This man says very strangely that he would slay this foul beast if not for him being stuck in a tree. And he pulled his hamstring. So just fight the dog and start your first battle. The battle system is quite normal for an RPG. You can attack, use skills, items, run away like normal, and different characters have different ways of fighting. Brad will obviously be your main source of damage as you are playing as him. He has a cool style of fighting where you have to press buttons to attack, and if you input certain combinations, it makes a skill go off, in addition to the normal attack. It reminds me a lot of Legends of Legaia on the PS1 if any old people like me have ever played that game. Just beat the dog and you'll be rewarded with the classic EXP and money for winning. Which in this universe, the money are nudie mags, which I guess is a fitting currency because there are no women left and people have to use something. When it's over, you'll be met by this guy in yellow shirt, and he will say his name is Terry Hintz. He is sort of a tutorial guy. He will tell you how to play the game and he will join your party. He's sort of a fan favorite because he's funny, and when he attacks, he just falls down on the enemy and hits them. But he will just join your party without Brad even asking. After which you can walk back home with a bunch of hint posters along the way that will help you if you need how to learn how to play. Basic things like how to save and stuff like that. However, we are mostly here for the story and not the gameplay, so I won't mention too much about the gameplay other than the important details. Things such as campfires, which if you sleep with them, you will heal your entire party to full. But be careful. Like Fear and Hunger, this game is exceptionally cruel and unfair at times. Usually when you use a campfire, you'll be hit by a random event. Things like people stealing all your stuff, or a venomous ant biting you and your party while you sleep and badly poisoning all of you. Or just straight up your party members gambling your magazines away while you sleep, and losing. But just use this first one here and get going. And this will kickstart the main story. Continue to your left after you wake up to get back to your house, and blood will cake the ground. Getting closer, one of your friends is bloodied and almost dead. The only thing he will say to Brad as Brad leans down to hear his dying words is, "Secret's out, Brad. She's gone." And then he'll die. Brad will look a little sad and tell Terry that he has to do something alone. A loved one has been kidnapped, and he has to find them. Notably, Brad will never tell any of his party members that the person he is looking for is the one and only girl in the world. And even if he does, that girl is his daughter, and he's trying to save her. He will always just say he's looking for someone, or looking for the girl. After this scene, you are off on the main adventure of the game. You need to find Brad's daughter. Buddy is her name, as that's what he called her at the beginning. You can look in your house at the pictures that Buddy drew. One is of your friends, Ricky, Sticky, and Cheeks is now dead, leaving the only two of Brad's friends that know about Buddy being Sticky and Ricky, and they are the only ones that know of her relation to him. Go left more and continue, and you can find some items. And once you go towards the main area of the game, you'll be met by some people obviously trying to kill you for trying to get the girl. But something you might notice in combat is you have Joy on you, the drug that Brad takes. You may be tempted to use this item, because admittedly, it's probably the best item in the game. It negates almost all damage, and makes all attacks critical hits, and seemingly has no downsides, and it's readily available pretty frequently. So why not use it, right? Anyway, just fight through these first couple guys and reach a cave. Get through it and find a small boss fight. When you beat this guy, he will say, "Hopefully the girl's already dead, so I can see her in hell." So it seems like the secret is really out. Everyone around here knows that there's an actual girl alive, and they all probably want to use her. No man in the world has had sex with a woman in probably 20 years at least. They aren't going to be picky on what the girl is, as disgusting as that is. Continue right and get hit by a car. When you wake up, you will see some familiar faces. It looks like those guys from the playground all those years ago grown up. The bullies. When Brad gets up, the main bully comes out. His name is Columbo. He will ride in on a deer, who is named Spaghetti, and say, "Time is the best teacher." But unfortunately, it kills all his pupils, which is a pretty cool quote, admittedly. Columbo will say that he remembers Brad from when they were kids, but he's now a bandit. And normally, Brad would be dead and stripped of all his valuables, but due to old time's sake, he's gonna give you a choice. A rather unfair one. He's gonna let you live, first of all, but he is either going to kill Terry right now, or take every single item you have. That includes items, magazines, and everything else. You can do whatever you want. And know that the unfair choices like this are pretty common in this game. So do what you want, and Columbo will leave you alone, leaving you to begin the real game. But be careful. Whenever Columbo gives you an ultimatum like this, he will always stick to his word. He will fully kill your party members if you let him. But let me take you aside one more time and tell you how this section of the video is going to work. Lisa the Painful is split into 5 main sections. The tutorial, which we just went over, followed by 3 crossroads sections, which act as a hub for each world, and then finally the ending. I'm not going to go over every single interaction of the game, because that would take a long time, but I will go over the main ones and a few that are important to the story or world building. Okay, sidebar over. At the first crossroads, you will realize once again how unfair this game is. If you jump off even a small ledge, you will take fall damage. Some bigger ledges do even more fall damage, standard stuff, but there are also random traps laying around that you obviously would not think are traps, like this hanging guy here. If you walk under him, his stomach will burst with corpse gas and hit you for 100 damage outside of battle. How fair. To the right is another campfire and a tent. The guy outside will say he'll watch over you to make sure you're safe while you sleep, which is nice of him. Take him up on his offer, and as soon as you wake up and leave the tent, you'll be hit by a bat. It will catastrophically lower your SP for good, and your luck for good. How fair. Going further right will show you to the first crossroads, putting you finally at the main body of the game. You are then tossed into the main hub of the first crossroads. You can walk around all you like, but your main goal here is to the right. There will be a truck and a bridge. The man near the truck will say that there used to be a woman in the back of that car that people kidnapped, but now she's at this place with a hair club, and that's where she's going to be. So that's where you're going. You have to find this hair club. Go back to the hub area and you will notice hundreds of posters with Buddy's face on it, with wanted plastered all over. It's obvious what she's wanted for. It's a bit daunting at first, but clear out all the rooms one by one and you'll eventually get what you need. One of the rooms you can go in is a long cave that leads to Rando's army territory, if you remember that name, signified by his signature red skull of Rando painted all around. There's another Buddy poster here, but over it is painted the red skull and the words, "Bring her to Rando and he will give you the world." You can find a bunch of Rando's troops nearby, and they'll ask, "What are you doing on his turf?" You can fight them if you'd like, which will more than likely kill you at this point, but you can explain to them that you're looking for the girl. They will say, "Yeah, no shit, every person on the planet is looking for the girl." But it's best to just leave this place for now. Another room you can find in the hub will lead you to the right. And the first thing you might notice while going this direction is there's a guy with green hair passed out. Drunk, maybe, or high. Just ignore him for now and continue. You can find a bar to recruit more party members if you have enough dirty magazines here as well. Further right is the Aurora Village. Entering the first house will cause Brad to have a PTSD episode. Marty will be there, but obviously he's not really there. It's a hallucination. He will drop a baby at Brad's feet and just say, "You take care of her." Then a red flash and you'll be back in the present. It seems that Brad is haunted by his father. But that begs the question. If Brad is here and Marty is shown, where are Marty and Lisa? Are they dead? It would make sense that Lisa died in the flash. But where's Marty? We'll talk about it later. Go further right past the village and find a guy who says that there's an abandoned building nearby and his friends are playing cards in there and you should join them. Doing so in the next room over will meet you with a completely black screen and a creepy whistling song in the background. A voice will then sing a song about joy. Whether the song means the feeling of joy or the drug of joy is ambiguous. The figure will then light a match and show his face. This is Buzzo, someone Brad seemingly knows all too well. He'll be gathered with what looks like a bunch of people or a cult of some sort with happy face masks on. This guy, Buzzo, will say, Brad looks so unhappy. And he'll give you some joy for free. From a gameplay standpoint, this is great. Joy is completely overpowered. But from a story perspective, he's giving Brad a drug and pressuring him to take it. A drug that you will see will turn you into a monster, both figuratively and all too literally. Buzzo will then say to remember to take care of yourself and he'll check up on you soon. How he knows Brad will remain a mystery. For now. Going even further to the right here, we'll show you one of the many karate masters. They will often give you a humorous task to perform to get a scroll that increases your defense. The first one will have you throw yourself off a cliff like 25 times. It's pretty funny. As you return, you may notice something different from before. That guy with the green hair that was passed out is now horribly disfigured and turned into some disgusting monster. Some human-esque looking blob of flesh that is stretched and contorted in weird ways. This is a major story beat and a huge part of the game. This is a Joy mutant. Remember how we talked about how Joy can turn you into a monster? Well, if you take too much of this miracle drug, this can happen to you. You are turned into a monster that is only vaguely human. These are all enemies, and all of them are the most dangerous part of the entire game, pretty much. You may notice if you are defeated in battle, the character's health who hits 0 is just knocked out. You can use one of the many revive items to revive them, and it's no big deal. However, fighting a Joy mutant is extremely dangerous. Most of them have a move called Fatal Chomp, or in some cases, Neck Break. These attacks are some of the only attacks in the game that can not only kill you, but they will kill you permanently, 100% of the time, and it will always kill a party member. Almost all of the mutants have these attacks, and it's a reason to fear these things. To add even more horror to these mutants, they will often just cry and skip turns in battle, and it's not like they're doing it for no reason. The text indicates that these things are genuinely in pain and sad. They can also scream or cough up blood. It's as if they don't want to be like this, and they're in extreme pain being in this Joy mutant form, but they have to be. The music that plays when you fight them is also called Welcome to Hell. This makes them not only visually, but from a gameplay standpoint, nerve-wracking. If Joy can do this to people, is it really worth it to use it? We'll contemplate that later. Another room in the crossroads leads to a meadow. There's a ton of snakes here, and it is such an annoying area of the game, because you have to fight a lot of them, and they can poison you. There's a campfire a little later on, and you can rest, but remember the risk of that. In my case, in this playthrough, a party member got kidnapped here, and I didn't know how to get them back. So if you don't know where to go, they can just steal your party members for good while you sleep. Good luck. Further in the meadow, you can find a playground, similar to one in the intro of the game. Here you can find an old man staring at another Joy mutant. This old man will say, he's seen this monster kill a dozen men without a thought, all because of Joy. Yet horrifyingly, at this moment, he can just stare into its eyes and it will stare back with a smile and do nothing. He will then give you some advice on how to kill it, like having explosives or having a good party. Fight it, but obviously be very careful of it. After you take care of it, you can find a child's bicycle here. It seems useless, but this bicycle is probably one of the most important items of the game. Brad can use it to go really fast and jump over small ledges, giving you a huge range of mobility in the overworld now. Once you get it, you can continue and go into the second to last cave. Here you will find a cave with a suspicious door inside, one that looks an awful lot like Brad's childhood room. Inside, Brad, with a full set of hair and six-pack, will see a woman. It would appear this is a vision of the past. She will say that Rick will be down soon. Then your friend Rick will come home, and his wife will imply that he should take you to the back so she can do some stuff. So your friend Rick will take you to the backyard. And there, Rick will break down and say that he wishes his life was more like Brad's. Rick has a wife that hates him, a son that's probably not even his, and a job that he hates. Brad will just say, it's better to have somebody than nobody at all, Rick. Rick will then say he's not so sure of that. He will say Brad has no wife, no kids that hate him, and he's a karate teacher. How cool. Well, that solves the mystery of what Brad's job was before the Flash. However, right before that, he says, Brad's life is awesome. A flash of light will appear with a red background, and a little girl will appear near you both, and she will just say, don't forget about me. This girl looks a lot like Buddy, but is actually seemingly Lisa, Brad's kid sister. But why is she so young compared to Brad? And why is she flashing in his memory? The flash, where all the women disappeared, hasn't happened yet in this flashback, as indicated by Rick's wife being alive. So why is Lisa seemingly dead and haunting Brad before the flash even happened? The screen will then ring out with a chime and you'll be back in the present. Two men will be watching another man who is cross-dressing and dancing. Talking to them, they will say that everyone's gone to look for the girl, but they're okay with just watching this dude dance in women's clothes. That's enough for them. Further to the right, you will find a house that will look very familiar. Oh god, it's this guy. Just leave him. Further forward, you will find a bunch of guys saying that there is a hair club, and it's full of really cool guys. These guys in this hair club have found a girl. Can you believe it? And they're just letting people take turns at her. Free of charge. It's like heaven. Brad is obviously not happy about hearing this about his daughter. So once you rush in and kill this group of guys with a singular thing of hair, by the way, not even going to touch that one, you can finally find a truck driver named Farty. Farty will say, just look at him. He's not a woman. Even has a mustache. This hair club was just telling people he's a woman and letting them have turns at him. So there goes that lead. It wasn't even Buddy all along in this place. However, Farty will say he can drive you back with this truck as fast travel. So it's not a total bust going here. Going further right will show you another vision of Brad's past. He goes to Sticky and asks for painkillers. Right now, Brad says he needs them. Sticky will say something's wrong with Brad. He's not feeling his vibe right now. Sticky denies Brad the drugs, and Brad will say that after what he just went through, he doesn't need Sticky shit. He just needs painkillers. Then the vision ends. So it seems that before the Flash, Brad was still a drug addict, or at least a karate teacher with an addiction to painkillers. Take Farty back to his truck and the bridge, and he will actually rebuild it. Going across this bridge and continuing, there will be a cave up here. And that cave will show you... This is the first time it is plainly spelled out for you. Lisa, the protagonist from the first game, hanged herself. Due to all the abuse and the fact that Brad wasn't there for her, the only person who could be, her big brother, to stand up for her against her dad. She hanged herself. It makes a lot more sense now why Brad is so protective of Buddy, and why he called her his second chance. It would also stand to reason that this, right here, is the reason he became a drug addict. That and he has an abusive father. Remember though, Brad isn't the best dad himself. Also, a side note, this is the first time that song, Blood for Sex, is used. That is the song I use in the warnings at the beginning of videos. Right here, this is the scene where I got it from. Well, this and the final scene in the game. We'll get to that much later though. Not only that, if you interact with the hanged body, Lisa will seemingly say, who is she? Why do you love her more than me, Brad? Why do you hate me? You're supposed to take care of me! After which, Brad will stay silent, and you can just leave the cave and move on. After you do, fight through some guys, and find a man pooping on a spider, don't ask, and then find a pile of bloodied guys. One of which is Rick, Brad's friend. Brad will call out to him saying, thank God he's alive. Where's Buddy? To which, strangely, Rick will just run away from Brad. Run after your friend, and he will punch you if you get close. To which Brad will then jump on him and tie him to a pole. He will ask his friend, what the hell is going on? Rick will cry and say, stay out of it. To which Brad will say, she's my daughter! Rick will softly say that she doesn't belong to Brad anymore. They're gonna save the world. Buddy is the only hope for repopulation, and Brad knows it. Brad will call him an idiot, and then say, do you know what they're gonna do to her? To which Rick will retort, what do you suggest we do? Just die? Brad will once again ask, where is Buddy? And Rick will remain silent. Brad will ask Rick, why is he doing this? They were family. How could he just let his girl be taken? Rick will say, oh, he's sick of it. They can't just do that because, meh, family. Rick will say that just because Brad has pent-up guilt doesn't mean he can screw the whole world over for his second chance. Brad will just turn around and say, you don't know me. Rick will then say, you're right, Brad. I don't know you. But the only thing I do know is you are a washed-up druggie and not fit to be a father anyway, let alone a father to the most important child in the world. You're no father. You're an addict, Rick says. Brad says his friend has one more chance. Where's Buddy? Rick stays silent. You have to hit the action button over and over, and Brad will punch Rick over and over. And no matter what, he won't tell. Nearby, though, there's a dead body. One with a nail bat. You know what to do. Pick it up. A flash of red will appear, and you can walk back over to Brad's best friend and beat him with a nail bat. Even when he begs you to stop and says, she's with Sticky, Brad continues to beat him over and over without you even pressing a button now. He will beg, saying, Brad, you're killing me! But red appears again, and Brad won't stop now, regardless if you are pressing buttons or not, until Brad passes out. After you wake up, you can inspect him after it's over, and it'll say, he's done for. Continue to the right and find a dark cave. You will hear Brad's name get called out, and once again, the Joy Cult and Buzzo will be there again. Brad will ask, how do you know me? And Buzzo will say, oh, we go way back. And I'm hurt you don't remember me. Buzzo will then take a random party member and tell you to look at them. He will say, do you like this person? Do you love them? Or have you changed at all? He then says for Brad to prove that he has changed. Either cut off your own arm and give it to Buzzo, or he'll kill your party member. You can do what you want here, but if you cut your arm off, it severely makes your journey harder. You can't perform certain skills and your attack goes way down. You can try to kill them all instead, but it's nearly impossible. So choose. Once again, you are given an impossible choice. Do whatever you want and continue. Nothing story-wise will change other than Brad will not have an arm in cutscenes. The next room has a motorcycle and a cool-ass sunset in the background. Do this little motorcycle course, and after a while on the course, there will be a dude in a red mask, and the motorcycle will hit him, and somehow, as if his body was made of rocks, the motorcycle will explode on impact of this man and throw Brad off of him. This is Rando, the Red Skull. After which, Rando will whisper something to one of his men, and it looks like you're in for a huge fight. But weirdly, the man who Rando whispered to says that Rando says he's very sorry, and he's very sorry about blowing up your bike too. As a peace offering, Rando's going to give you all of our food for the day. With each Rando ration, it will heal you fully with both HP and SP, and they're very good items. After which, Rando will walk past Brad and leave. But as he does, Brad will notice that there are tears behind his mask holes. He's crying. After which, Rando will leave. After he does leave, though, his men will stick around, and they'll say that Rando's way too fucking nice, and they're just gonna take your rations back because Rando's kindness is wasted on an asshole like Brad. And you fight them. And the fight's not too hard. Just kill them normally. But it seems that Rando isn't the evil person he appears to be. Continue forward once again, and you will be hit by a baseball bat once again. You will then be taken to a room where you and your party will be playing Russian roulette. And it is actually Russian roulette. It also is seemingly actually random. You have to win 3 games, and your party members' lives are really at stake here. But since it's random, you can technically save scum from a save point earlier, if you really want. Just win the game 3 times, and then this gang will give you 50 magazines for winning. Continue forward, and you will finally be at the second crossroads. Here, your goal is to find some TNT to blow up some rocks. And the TNT was stolen by Rando's army, so you have to continue forward without going into the main cave. Go through the first cave here, though, and you can find an inn as well as a Joy Mutant that strangely doesn't want to fight you. Further on in this area, you will find a construction site that has, honest to God, though it is purposeful, the worst video game music I have ever heard. Here, listen. At the end of this, Brad will get in some sort of construction machine and run over a bunch of people for some reason. And then you will find the TNT at the end of the site. Cool. Head back to the second crossroads, and if you climb down a bunch of ropes and go to the west, you will find another karate master. This one will give you a scroll if you stand on a bunch of barrels for a total of 3 minutes without moving. So you can just go to the bathroom or something and get your scroll after. Before you use that TNT on the main cave, go into the right cave and you will be in a swampland. Make your way through it, and eventually you will run into another one of Brad's memories. One where he is in a karate uniform, and looking at some painkillers and taking them. He walks over to his students, one of which is a blonde guy, to which Brad will say that he's acting strange and wonders if everything is okay at home with the kid. But further to the right of the main 3 students is a shirtless, slightly muscular-looking blonde kid. He will mumble and speak in a stutter. He will say, he swears, he wasn't watching. Brad tells the poor kid that it's okay, and he sees him watch his karate class all the time. Brad then says it's okay if the kid wants to join them, if he wants to join the class sometime. The kid will stutter and say, he doesn't have any money though. Brad, strangely out of character like, says that's okay, he'll let him in for free. He seems like a good kid. The kid will say that he's grateful, and he'll cry, but he doesn't know if he's good enough for karate. But Brad will laugh and say, we'll see about that, kid. The kid will just smile and say, okay, through tears of joy. After which you can continue and be back in the swamp in the present. In the swampland is a brothel. You may ask how that's possible without women, but it's a bunch of guys who dress like women who offer their services. It's the best the world has at the moment, they think. Outside, a guy is threatening to not pay when a guy with a huge goatee and a blonde wig comes out. To which this disappointed customer says that it's all dudes here. There's no women. To which the blonde man, named Queen, says, yeah, no shit, there's no women here. And then he asks the customer if he played with a lot of lead toys as a kid, which is a funny insult. The customer says he'll kill them, all of the men. And then Queen says he's a cross-dresser. It doesn't mean he lost his balls. After which Queen beats the man to death with the bat. If you go inside this brothel and talk to Queen, Queen will give you the opportunity to work for the brothel if you'd like. If you do so and do what you think you would do, which is strangely masked as combat, you can get Queen as a party member. And Queen is one of my favorite party members and is fucking impossibly strong. That's not all here though. There's a secret tunnel that if you jump off the map in a certain spot, you can find the land of the fish people. Not gonna say anything else about that. Go back to the main crossroads and finally blow up the rocks to enter the middle cave. This area is, and I shit you not, a post-apocalyptic McDonald's. Like the fast food place. Climb on top of the McDonald's mountain and fight a Wasteland Grimace and Ronald McDonald boss fight, and after you beat up the clown, you can enter the back room in the McDonald's. But when you enter, you'll be met with another one of Brad's hallucinations. A meat cave with Marty spiders, like from the first game. Fight them or dodge them like the first game. But at the bottom, you can exit and hear whistling again as rain beats down heavily on the wasteland, where you'll find Buddy's mask on a tree, abandoned. Brad will run over and grab it. In the next cave, you can finally find what you've been looking for. Buddy, alive and well. Brad will say, Buddy? And Buddy will say, Brad, where have you been? Brad will say that he's been looking for her everywhere. But all Buddy can ask is, where's Uncle Sticky? And Rick? To which Brad lies and says he doesn't know, even though he obviously beat Rick to death and Sticky is nowhere to be found. Brad says it doesn't matter, they need to go. Buddy will just say that Uncle Sticky told her to stay here, but Brad will reiterate that it isn't safe and they have to go home. He will approach her, but she will back away and say, what's going on? Brad just says, it's dangerous, we need to leave. Buddy will simply reply, no. Rick and Sticky told me everything. I know how important I am to this world now. People actually need me, Brad. They care about me. Something you never did. Brad will just say, Buddy, no. I do care about you. I'm here to save you. To which she will say, I know about those little blue pills. Brad will be speechless at this. Buddy will say that she doesn't want to live with Brad anymore. She has a new life. Brad says she doesn't understand what she's saying. She does not understand what's going to happen to her. She is the only girl on the planet, and she's just not ready. To which she says, yes, she is. Uncle Sticky showed her. To which Brad says, "What the hell are you talking about? What did he do to you?" To which Buddy will just say that he talked to her. To which Brad screams, "What else?" To which Buddy says, "Stop, you're scaring me." Brad asks again, "What did Sticky do?" And Buddy once again says, "Nothing." Brad says this conversation's over. They're leaving. Now. Brad gives her back her mask, and she will join Brad's party, though she can't fight. Just continue through the cave, which when you get out, the whistling will continue. Buzzo knocked you out and says, "Morning, sunshine. Did you feel the joy today?" Then he asks Buddy, "How about you, beautiful?" To which Brad yells at the, "Stay away from her!" Buddy says, "Why, Brad? Do you know her? Do you want her?" Buzzo goes over to Buddy and asks, "How do you know this man? What is he to you?" To which he replies, she doesn't know anymore. Buzzo says he sees. "See, sweetheart, this is a sick man. Stay away from him." He then pulls out a joy pill and shows Buddy. He says, "You see this girl? He loves these." He walks over to Brad and says, "It's been a while, hasn't it? What's wrong? Did you run out? The demon's eating you up now? You piece of shit." "It's okay, I'll share it with you. Take it." Brad will say, "No." Buzzo will say, "How can you turn me down?" Brad will beg, "Please, not in front of her." To which one of the Joy Cult members will hit Buddy with a bat in the face. Buzzo then looks back down at Brad and says, "Take it." Brad will beg for him not to hurt her, to which Buzzo says, "Oh, he won't, don't worry. It's not her he's after." Brad will then take the joy pill. Buzzo will then pull out another and tell Brad, "Take another one." Brad will be silent, but Buzzo will ask, "Don't you want to be happy again?" So Brad takes another with no choice, to which Buzzo will pull out a third pill and say, "What's that? You want more? That's the spirit." Brad will then take the third pill. The screen will then noticeably lose saturation, and Brad will say, "I'm sorry, Buddy," and he'll pass out. Buzzo's men will then take Buddy, and the screen will go black as Brad passes out. You will then wake up in a drug-fueled hallucination, in a blood river. Climb this wall next to this giant face, a mustached man. This is Sticky if you couldn't tell, because I couldn't. He will tell Brad, "Brad, she's getting older. Besides, she wanted it. How can you blame me? She's thirsty for knowledge. Someone needs to educate her, and you're just not capable." You will then fight this giant head, but it's clear what he was implying by his speech beforehand. Clearly, Brad is convinced that Sticky essayed his daughter. And in this drug-fueled hallucination, you have to fight a giant sticky head. Yes, I said that on purpose. However, no matter what you did, you are under the effects of joy this fight, so it's not hard at all. After which, you will just say that he's trying to help and to not blame him. After which, you will wake up alone. No party members, no Buddy. Buzzo took them both. Nothing to do but continue. Go back to Crossroads 2 by fast travel and go all the way to the right, where you will be met by the bully Columbo yet again, who will say the best line in the game after he gets in. "What's up, dumb fuck?" He will then pull out Buddy's mask and ask if Brad recognizes it, and Brad will ask what did he do to her. To which Columbo mistakes Brad for being after the same thing as him, and he'll say, "Looks like we both bought tickets to the same dance. Question is, who's gonna take home the prom queen?" He will then leave and let all the other bullies fight you. However, you should still be under the effects of joy. After all, Brad took a lot of them, so the fight shouldn't be hard even slightly. Keep going, and in the cave on the other side, another hallucination. Brad is in a church, talking to a priest, and the priest will say, "Did you know her? Poor girl. You're the only one that's shown up to the service." Go forward and see a coffin. Inspecting it just says, "her coffin." This is implied to be Lisa's, obviously. The only person who went to the service was Brad, her big brother. Not even her father. All you can do is leave. But as you turn back, the walls become very flesh-like and Joy Mutant looking. Is Brad turning into a Joy Mutant because of all the joy he just took? How much time does he have? Leave and you'll be in a new area, finally. It's just a wrestling arena, and you can get a few magazines here, but there isn't much story relevance. Continue forward and you will be on some rocky cliffs, and to the far right you can find Sticky, who is beaten and bloodied by a rock. He'll say, "That's one slippery girl you got there, Brad. She's tough, that's for sure. All that isolation did her curious mind some good. Brad will tell him it's over, so he will call him Tony and not his nickname Sticky. Tony will say he hasn't heard that name in a long time. His dad used to call him that name. He says that's why he and Brad clicked as kids. They both came from abusive households. Poor, beaten, fucked up kids. But Sticky says the difference is he kept his chin up. Brad took to drugs. Sticky says that Brad doesn't have an excuse with him. Oh, this stuff with Buddy? It's bullshit. What happened to survival? What happened to brotherhood? Brad says he doesn't care about that stuff anymore. Buddy is his daughter, and she's all that matters anymore. It's his second chance. Sticky laughs weakly and says, she was the gift to the world, not a gift to you, Brad. She's not really your child anyway. You're just not man enough to do what needed to be done. However, don't worry. He did what was necessary to keep the world safe. Brad's about to kill him, but Rick runs over, somehow not dead, and gets in between the two. He begs Brad not to hurt Sticky. You have the choice to either let them live or kill them. You can do what you want, but it does not matter to the story. However, for reasons you will soon understand, Brad will kill them anyway. Do so, and continue. You'll then be ambushed by two of the Joy Boys and hear the whistling again. Buzzo will say that he kept your party safe for you. Don't worry. He then lifts up Buddy and asks if Brad knows this little girl. Buzzo says that he does. All too well now. He says that if he ever wanted to get... He says he never wanted her to get this far. It's no place for a girl. However, she's going to be a tool. She's going to be a metaphor for Brad to see what it feels like. Brad tells him to shut the fuck up and tell him what Buzzo wants. Buzzo says, look at that. You are changing. But it's not enough. You need more pain, more suffering, more joy. Buzzo says that Brad used to be so joyful alone, but these party members are just holding him back. He's better off alone still, right? So he has another ultimatum for you. Either he kills all of your party members, or he cuts off Buddy's nipple. You can make your choice. Once again, in regards to Brad's character, it makes a lot more sense to have Buzzo kill your entire party for Buddy, but if you don't, it shows him, although in a polygonal art style of the game, cutting off Buddy's nipple. He'll throw it to you and tell you to keep it to remember. But you can equip it, and sure enough, it boosts luck. Gross. He will say that he has to be going, though, and then he'll leave. Continue forward, and Buzzo will be literally just like 5 feet away, standing alone. He'll say, well, she already ran away from him. She's slippery. He says, though, he enjoyed making Brad joyful again, but he wants your other arm now. Or your first one again, if you didn't give it to him the last time. Or if you don't want to give your arms, he'll take all your items again. Your choice. If you let him take both of your arms, you are severely weakened and can't do much. However, you're still a good meat shield for the rest of your party and can do a little damage. So, do what you need to do, and continue finally to Crossroads 3. Outside the Crossroads, you can find that trucker's brother from earlier. His name is Tardy, and he used to have a boat until that little asshole girl stole it. He says it's unbelievable how resilient she was. He can take you to her, but you need some items to build a new boat. To do so, he needs some wood, a sail, a way to propel the boat, and the tools to put it all together. All of which you can find in the final Crossroads. So happy hunting, because this Crossroads is, in my opinion, the best part of the gameplay and music-wise. First things first, here is a cave with a campfire. However, when you walk in, you will notice that there is several Lisas above watching down on you. Another Brad hallucination. The first cave is my favorite section of the game for no other reason than I love the music and the fights here. Which, fun fact, the song that plays in this area, known as Bathhouse Boys, plays a portion of the song that plays in the bar in Lisa the First. This area is a hot springs, and first of all, there are more Marty spiders here, unfortunately, but the Joy Mutant that's on the game's cover is also in here. This is Beatty, and he is every bit as intimidating as the other mutants, and the only one that in the course of the gameplay you're seeing on screen killed several party members of mine. Also, you can find the hand fan here, which is how you're going to propel that boat. But to fight it, you have to fight these Yakuza-looking guys in the bathtub. And these guys are actually somewhat important to the next game's story. His name is Han Tsunami, and this is his gang. But for now, just kill them and have fun with this fight because it is one of my favorites. The next cave leads to Hollywood. Yes, really. At the end, you will meet a former actor, Hawk Hollywood, and his boss fight is quite something. If you are playing on a higher difficulty option, he will be a Joy Mutant and significantly harder to kill. But past him, you will find a huge thing of cloth, which can be used for the sail. Next up is the Ice Mountain. I fucking hate this place. because at the beginning of this area, guys in football helmets will bum rush you and blow themselves up on you before the battles can even start, lowering your health significantly if you cannot dodge them, and that's nearly impossible to dodge all of them. Then on top of that, snowmen with guns can shoot you here if you're not careful. And at the top of this very mountain, you will meet Buffalo Van Dyke, a former college football player and a pretty fun boss. After you beat his guys, though, he will give up pretty soon after. He will say that, "Man, Brad has more willpower and drive than any of his men here. He'll join you instead, and he is my second favorite party member because the dude just fucking destroys people." He will also give you all the tools in his truck. Continue to the right and be careful because there's a Joy Mutant here that will ambush you if you are not careful. And obviously, because it's a Joy Mutant, it's not an easy fight. He also killed a party member of mine in this playthrough. Keep going through to the top of the mountain and you will find a Burning Man, which has no lore as far as I'm aware. And once you kill him, you can jump down and get a very strong weapon for a lot of party members. The final important cave also has really cool music. But before we get to the wood here there is another Karate Master. And his challenge is walking through a bunch of rakes that you have to step on and have them hit your face. Over and over and over. They don't deal damage, they're just very annoying and it takes a while to reach the end of them. And at the end, the Karate Master will call you worthy, and hilariously, this is the only place in the game that I can find that does not let you fast travel, which means you have to walk over every single rake again. Then you can continue on to the final place, which is Blood Mountain, which has really interesting music, and you can fight a bunch of guys climbing it, but at the top you will fight Bloodiest Wolf. A really cool fight, and one of the few that can kill your party members that is not a Joy Mutant. He's got some really cool moves, and certainly is not the easiest fight. Kill him and take the tree for wood. The last tree on the mountain, by the way. That gives you all the things you need to continue to the ending. However, to tie things up, there is something we should do first. There's a cave near the bottom of this area that you go in and head to a very sunny pasture with a village. At the bottom of this village is once again Columbo. He says his stomach swims when he sees you, his favorite no-good son of a bitch. He says that all of the other bullies are dead now, and he gives you another motorcycle and says there's a boat at the end of this pasture. You're going to race to it. Last sighting of that girl was on that island over there. First one to the boat is the first one that gets to the island. All you have to do is race him. If you win, you get a permanent good status effect. But either way, he'll say, "Brad, there is no boat. I lied. Truthfully, I've been envious of you my entire life." He says thank you for doing this one last thing for him. It showed him what he needed to know. He'll then take out a gun and shoot the deer he rides on, and then himself. That's one more loose end, I guess, and kinda weird. Head back to the crossroads and get ready for the end. Give the parts to Tardy and he will build the boat, and he'll say it's gonna take a while, but they all need to chip in. But Brad will say his party needs to rest before they go, but Brad will help Tardy all night build the boat. After which, your party members will go to sleep, and Brad and Tardy will build the boat all the way through the night. After it's done, Brad will say, "You need to be quiet. Only me and you are gonna go, Tardy. Me and you. You're going to leave your party behind. This is something that only Brad can do." Tardy will say whatever you say, and you will get going. You have a painfully long cutscene of Brad and Tardy sailing to the island, and after they get off the boat, Tardy will say, "Well, she's got to be on this island somewhere. He's ready for some action." Brad tells him no. But he says he didn't go all this way just for nothing. He wants a piece of that little bitch. To which Brad will immediately start a fight with him, and he is sadly very easy to kill. End his life and move on. The only thing on this island is a cave. Nothing to do but go in it. Inside is Marty. But it's not a hallucination this time. There's also a bunch of joy pills on the ground and empty bottles. Marty will ask Buddy as you walk in what those blue pills are, and Buddy just says, "They're called joy, but they don't taste good. But they make you feel good." Marty says, "Sweetheart, I don't think you should take those." So yes, Buddy at some point has done joy. But that is when Marty and Buddy notice Brad walking in. Brad will just say, he can't believe his fucking father's alive. Marty will just stay silent looking at Brad, and then you are given the choice to kill Marty or let him live. However, even if you do click let him live, Brad will take over for you and attempt to kill him anyway. Buddy, however, will get in between them and say, "Don't hurt him! He saved my life!" Brad will say, "Move. Move!" Then Brad will hit his own daughter and throw her out of the way. Marty will scream at him not to hurt her, and then the fight will start. At the beginning of this fight, notice that the opponent is named Marty Armstrong, because that's his name. However, it's not a hard fight. Marty will skip turns and the game will say, Marty doesn't want to do this, when he does. However, about 1/3 of the way through the fight, Buddy will come in and defend Marty, saying, stop, don't do this. But you have no choice but to keep fighting, including hitting Buddy in the process. She will say, why are you doing this? And get out of the way once you do a little more damage to him. The name of the enemy will then change to Father instead. He will do even less damage now and cough up blood every once in a while, damaging himself. After you beat him, he won't be dead. He will still be on the couch and Buddy passed out nearby. He will say, Bradley, I've changed. Lisa, baby, I'm so sorry. A bell will ring out and the screen will turn red and we don't get to see what Brad does to him. It will just cut to black. Brad will then wake up and you're given a chance to save one last time. Brad will wake up from the fugue stick and look over to see Buddy stole the boat. You have to figure out a way off the island without a boat. If you go back inside the cave, there is literally nothing left of Marty. It just says nothing remains. However, if you go over to the body of Tardy, you can sail on his corpse to the final area. One last funny moment for this game, I guess. Once you arrive at the end, you will notice that this area is different. It is gray and has red skulls on spikes. Rando's territory. Move forward and you will notice you can no longer use your bike. It's just an empty island with skulls littered around. You have to walk for a while, but it's like a moment to reflect before you get to the ending. Take your time and think about your journey so far. You will also find a lot of rando rations here, as well as tons of diesel firebombs, one of the strongest offensive items in the game, where you throw a Molotov cocktail at people. You will need them both for the coming fights. Once the music dies out, you know it's go time. First thing you will see is a guy with claws. Although the game doesn't outright state this, if you go through normally and don't do any side quests, this is Mr. Angonelli, Sticky's dad, the one who abused him. He will be cutting out Buddy's eye. Brad will run at him and tell him to stop, but he says he branded her, so the whole world knows that she is his now. Obviously, Brad isn't going to stand for this, and this guy's a pretty easy fight. Clearly, though, this is the only fight, as far as I can tell, that uses the Joy Mutant fight music and is not a Joy Mutant. Maybe he really is that horrible. As he dies, though, he will laugh and say, I already marked her face. My mark on history. And after the fight is over, Brad will comfort Buddy and give her his poncho to cover up, even though she has one less eye now. She will softly say that she doesn't want it. But Brad will say, take it anyway. She's hurt. Buddy will say she doesn't want Brad's help and to leave her alone. She asks what Brad wants from her, and he'll say he just wants to help her. She says that's not what Rick and Sticky said to her. Brad retorts that they don't know him. Nobody does. But Buddy will say she does. She knows what Brad really is. A monster. Brad is only silent at this. She says that Brad has taken everything away from her, and only a monster could do what he did to Marty. Brad says, you don't know him. But she cries that Marty was a better father to her in a few days than Brad ever was. And then she will run away, leaving Brad alone and shirtless. The game then says that Brad's body is feeling strange. His class then changes from nobody to failure. It will replace all of your skills as well. You can no longer use your normal combos, and it replaces them with the rage and sadness fueled ones. Follow after Buddy past more skulls and army looking areas, all of which are obviously randos, and there's a save point near the end of the room that you should save at, as this is the last time you can. This is it. The end. Continue forward and you will see Buddy in front of a lot of randos army. They will see you and tell Brad that it's the end of the line. Buddy belongs to Rando now. The masses of the army will cry out, what happened to her face? I bet that bald guy did it. But Brad will tell Buddy it's time to go. They have to run. But as Brad starts to run, Buddy runs the opposite direction, into the huge army. Brad will call out to her, but the screen will flash red when Brad turns around. Your party has come to help you in the end. Right? However, Brad will just stare at them when, depending on who you had at your party at the end, they will all side against Brad here. All 40-something possible party members, not a single one will be on your side. Each one of them will give you a different explanation, but they will all say that what Brad is doing is not right. The world needs Buddy. She is the future. He can't just shelter her and not give the world a chance and have everybody die out. Brad will turn around to them and say, no, you can't have her. All of you people are filling her head with nonsense, blinding her. You don't understand. I have to save her. I'm sorry, guys. And then you will be put into the battle with your former party. As sad as it may be to you, you have to put them all down. Each of them. Even Terry. Some of them will cry as you do it. It shouldn't be too hard, but be careful not to waste too many items here. After it's all over and you put your party down, the army will look at you and it will pan over to see Buddy with Rando. To which Rando will finally speak, and it's with a stutter. It's obvious what this implies, who Rando really is. It was that boy that Brad let into his karate class for free, a former student of Brad, someone he mentored, maybe something more. Rando will say to Buddy, "A face means nothing. The inside, it's what matters. I know you're strong." Buddy will say his name, and his entire army will say they've never heard Rando speak before. He almost sounds like a little kid with his inflections. He sounds so weak and fragile. However, they all turn their attention to the main problem, Brad. They cannot let him win. They tell Brad that he can't win. There's no point to this fight. They say that they'll let him live if he just walks away. He does not need to die. Brad then utters the best quote in the entire game and series, in my opinion. He will say, "No. I've been dead for 35 years. Today is the day I live." The screen will flash red some more, so much so that you can no longer see anything but the color red and the enemies you are fighting. Good luck. It's Brad alone versus 4 waves of 6 guys each. So it's Brad against 24 men. After the first 6, someone will say, "This guy's strong, but there's no way he can kill all of us. Kill him!" Take out the next 6, and you'll notice that every 6 guys you take out, the music will get softer and weaker. This isn't easy for Brad physically. Take out the next 6, and someone will say, "He's not human. How is he alive?" Then fight the next 6. Once again, the music gets even weaker, and you can hear traces of the first game's music in this track now. Every once in a while, one of the members of the army you were fighting will look horrified. You will also gain a new move, which is called Cry. And the description just says, "Lisa, help me." Fight off the next 6 and then get to the final 6 guys. Someone will shout out, "Just give him the girl! This guy's a fucking monster!" And the fight with the final 6 will start. You will get another move, one called Scream. The description reads, "It hurts. You have to scream. If you use this one, it will terrify enemies and they won't be able to act." Once again, these 4 waves shouldn't be that tough, if you have joy. And the music for the final one is very weak and reminiscent almost fully of the first game's music. Take out the final 6 and then the screen will no longer be red, and you will see what that did to Brad. He's bloodied, clearly dying, arrows sticking out of him all over, yet still he persists. It's like the scene at the beginning of Naruto where Zabuza fights 50 guys on the bridge and then dies after. But Brad is not looking good. He slowly approaches Rando and Buddy. Rando will tell Buddy to get back, and then he will step forwards towards Brad, and Rando will say, "Master Armstrong, please, we don't need to fight. She's the future." Brad will quietly and weakly say, "She's just a kid." Rando will then look down as if he's sad, and then he will shed his robe and you will see why that motorcycle hitting him didn't affect him earlier. The dude is jacked, a body chiseled from marble. He keeps his mask on but gets ready to fight reluctantly. During this fight, which is my favorite in the series, you will be fighting Rando. The strongest enemy you will probably ever face is Brad, and you're going to be doing it alone. After just fighting 24 enemies in a row with no healing in between. You will start the fight and you will notice that Rando will use moves that he learned from you. Moves that you yourself have used throughout your entire playthrough, like Buster Punches. Rando is also resistant to fire, so using those overpowered diesel firebombs don't really work. However, your best bet is to just spam the move Charging Headbutt, and don't ever stop using it. It can stun, which is the only way you're going to get out of this alive. Rando has a staggering 45,000 HP, and after 15,000 HP, his mask will crack. At this time, he will sometimes skip turns to cry at the situation and talk about how he doesn't want to fight. Keep doing the same thing until another 10,000 is gone, where his mask will fully fall off. We can see that for some reason, his face is no longer normal. Normal like it was when he was a kid. Rando is disfigured and gross looking, which it makes sense now why he told Buddy that her face didn't matter and it's what's on the inside that counts. However, Rando is no longer resistant to fire without his mask, so throw firebombs at him. which I don't think it's a coincidence that these fire bombs are in beer bottles. It's come full circle. Marty used to throw bottles at his kids, and now Brad is throwing bottles at his student. Is he really any better than Marty? Now, sometimes Rando will scratch or cough off blood, skipping turns and hurting himself. He really doesn't want to do this. After you beat him, he will say, "You really are the best. Thank you for everything." And he'll go down. He won't die, but be very hurt. Walk forward with Brad's broken body, and you are now very slow. You can no longer move faster than a snail's pace. Chase after Buddy in the final room, and Brad will say, "Buddy, it's over." She will get up and cry and angrily ask, "Why are you doing this to me? Why are you trying now? Why aren't you there when I needed you? You've taken everything from me. I finally had a chance at life and you take it away. Why are you trying to hurt me so much? You make me sick. I hate you." Brad will finally burst out, "Stop!" And he'll say, "I know you hate me. I know." She will reply, "Why, Brad? Why did you do this to me? I had a chance to choose something for myself." But Brad will say, "No, buddy. You didn't. For good or for evil, it didn't matter. Those men wanted to use you. People are always going to try to use you and hurt you. Choose your life for you." She will tell him to stop and not preach to her. It's too late for that. She says that he cannot be a good father all of a sudden. Brad will just say, for once, I wanted to do something good. I'm the one that's supposed to protect you. I can't let anyone hurt you." She will then say as the music cuts out, "Brad, you've hurt me the most." This will leave Brad speechless for a few seconds before he asks as a single tear falls, "Buddy, can you do something for me? Hold me." She'll ask why, but Brad will says, "I want to know what it's like." He begs. But then you take control of Buddy for the first time and you can choose. You can hug Brad or leave him alone. No matter what you do though, hug him or not, he will say one last thing. "Buddy, did I do the right thing?" As he slumps over, seemingly dead. The credits will roll, and as you watch them, something is off. Very wrong here. Sometimes they will flash with names like "Kill her, kill her, kill her, kill her," or "Special thanks to Martin Armstrong," or something like "Taste her. It's your fault." But then it will abruptly end and... You now see the reason I use that song so much in warnings. At the very end, the most heartbreaking and disturbing scene in probably any video game I've ever played plays. Brad has succumbed to the effects of joy, and has become a joy mutant. All you can do as Brad is slither yourself over to Buddy, who is sleeping nearby. As you do though, you will pass a single flower, one very reminiscent of the one that Brad gave to Buddy in the beginning montage. Inside the house where Buddy is sleeping, you can see that she too has joy pills just laying there. Brad can only muster the word Lisa as he sees her. This was never about Buddy. The real credits start to roll after the creepy whistling music starts up for the last time. If you beat the game in a harder difficulty, a final scene will play. Run again in Brad's past. Brad will enter his dojo right before the flash and see Rando as a kid just sitting there, his face bloodied and unrecognizable, sawed off. The reason it looks like it does in the present. He will just be rocking himself on the floor, and he will say that he did this. He's crazy. All he said was, "This is for Lisa." Brad will not say a word and leave the broken child alone as he walks away. That is it. That is the end of Lisa the Painful, and not gonna lie, I teared up a bit the first time playing this game at the end, and I kind of did there a minute ago reading the lines. I don't know if you noticed that. It is such a perfect story in my opinion. It has a horrible premise with the first game, and builds on it with such a serious and disturbing story perfectly. It makes a horribly gruesome and real story into something that is incredibly fun to play, all while keeping it respectful to the type of tragedy it is showing, even though it has tons of good comedy in it too. It also has a super interesting setting, and it blends it into the story beautifully, all while keeping it almost a metaphorical message, which we will discuss in the analysis, of course. Brad is such an interesting character, because it's hard to answer his final question at the end. Even though we have played the game from his perspective this entire time, and his view, when you see what he does at the end and all the things he does throughout the adventure, it's hard to say if he did the right thing. It seems simple on the surface, because how could a man wanting to save his daughter from being used as a sex tool be seen as anything but heroic? But in the end, this very weird set of circumstances, and all that Brad does to stop it, it's hard to say if he's in the right. In fact, in my humble opinion, he's really not. We will talk more about Brad and Buddy and everyone else in the analysis, obviously, but we have one sort of game to get through. One more called Lisa the Joyful. Lisa the Joyful. This is a small DLC for Lisa the Painful that delves more into what happens after the end of Lisa the Painful, as well as fleshes out the world a bit more. I will keep my thoughts to myself about this until after we go through the whole thing, however. So let's go into exactly where we left off with the DLC, Lisa the Joyful. The game starts out similar to Lisa the Painful, even with the same song. Then a red flash indicating someone got hit then plays, just like Lisa the Painful as well. And then we see Brad, obviously before his transformation, dragging something in a sack that's bloody. He drags it back to his house and tells Buddy to wake up. Today's the day. If anything happens to me, you need to be prepared. Buddy will wake up groggily and ask, "What's going on?" And Brad only replies with, "This won't be easy." He then pulls a guy out of the bag, beaten and bloodied. Buddy will ask, "Is he dead?" And Brad will just say, "Not yet." He'll continue that this world is cruel. Buddy is small and weak. She has to be quick and strong and use her size to her advantage. He then presents her with a sword. He says this is the most important lesson he can ever teach her. She must become numb. People are going to continue to try to hurt her all her life. She must be decisive, able to kill at a moment's notice. He then starts saying, "I know this is going to be tough." Then the man wakes up and begs. Brad ignores him entirely and tells Buddy that she needs to take the sword, and when it comes to killing, she needs to drive a sword deep into a person's neck, twist, and then pull it out. She then only cries under him. He says, "My daughter will not be weak. She will be strong. Free yourself." Buddy cries, but then gets up and takes the sword, and the screen goes black and red. She obviously took his lesson to heart. We then hear strange conversations, and we are not told who it is. Just someone talk about how their deal is over, old man. And the old man then asks, "How's Rando doing?" and if he can still take care of the girl. And the first person then says, the old man is so worried about the girl, he can look after her himself. And then all of a sudden, it cuts right back to where Lisa the Painful ended. Brad, as a mutant, slowly crawling towards Buddy and the joy pills on the floor. All he says is, "Help." Then you are in a fight with him. He will attack you, and you are Buddy now, and you have to fight him back. In this game as Buddy, you don't have combos like Brad, but skill checks pretty much. In this fight with Brad, he will attack, but often he will skip turns and just stare blankly at Buddy. Or sometimes it says, Brad is struggling. But then all of a sudden, Buzzo appears and interrupts the fight. He says he'll take care of this, and he tells Buddy to not go near those pills. But it doesn't matter anyway. Brad's gonna go with him. Buddy then asks, why is he doing all this? To Brad. Look at him. Look at him now. Look how he is. Buzzo will then say Buddy is now free. She does not need to dwell on the past. Buddy looks surprised and says, "You're not going to hurt me?" But then Buzzo says he never wanted to. He leaves by saying, "Welcome to hell, sunshine." You are then given control, and everything is pretty similar to how Lisa the Painful was gameplay-wise. It is technically a DLC for the game after all. Leaving the house where you came in shows that you are still in Rando's territory. Just walk forward for a while until you get to a bunch of guys. Rando's men from the look of it. They say, "Look, it's Buddy." They want her pristine meat. But before she can even fight, Rando comes limping in, saying, "Please, leave her alone." The main guy says, "A saying I like to say is you're only good as your worst day, and Rando, buddy, let me tell you, you're having a really bad day." Rando then says to Buddy that that guy's right, he can't fight like this, they need to run. But as they approach, you and Rando, a very strong-looking Joy Mutant comes down and lands on one of his men. In the confusion, Rando takes Buddy's arm and runs with her. Rando throws Buddy in a cave and asks if she's okay, and Buddy will ask if Brad did that to Rando, the injuries, to which Rando will say, "It's okay. Brad was just trying to protect you." But Buddy says that she's heard enough of that at this point. She will then say that Sticky told her about Rando, and Rando says he hopes Sticky didn't hurt her. He put a lot of trust in Sticky. But Buddy says that Sticky didn't lay a finger on her, only told her stories, but Sticky cried a lot. So I guess no one really did touch her. After we then hear a violent scream that sounds like it's from the Joy Mutant outside, and Rando says that beast is out there. I'm still hurt. I need some help from my friends. He says to Buddy that he knows that they just met, but he's sick of seeing blood. He wants peace in this world. He says without women, humans will die out. He then asks Buddy to trust him. You are then given a choice to trust him or not, but the only thing that really changes is the dialogue, if you do or don't. Go outside and walk forward with him, and you'll see all those guys were killed by the Joy Mutant, except maybe the main one ran away. Keep going, and you'll see a bunch of other guys who just slayed a different Joy Mutant. Walking through these guys, they will all look at Rando, and Rando will tell them to let him through. But then they're all stunned that he spoke. And no wonder he was silent up until now, with a voice like that. Besides, they aren't stupid. That's the girl on his shoulders. They then will initiate a fight with you. It's a pretty easy fight with Rando on your side because he is absurdly strong, even if Buddy is not. After it's over, Rando will ask Buddy where she learned to fight. She was decently strong, and Buddy will say that Brad taught her. Maybe not as much as Rando, clearly, though. Keep moving and you will see a lot of dead Joy Mutants, like a weird amount of them. Further on, you will see a list of names on a wall. It's on the border between Eastern and Western Oloth, Rando will say, which Oloth is the name of the country or the world now, I guess. On it is 9 names. The bottom 3 are crossed out. From top to bottom, it reads Big Lincoln, Cindy Gallows, Dice Mahone, Cardi Hernandez, Mr. Beautiful, Vega Van Dam. The bottom 3 that are crossed out say Buff Van Dyke, Han Tsunami, and Hawk Hollywood. 3 names you should recognize from Lisa the Painful. Rando will say that these are warlords, and they run Oloth in order from top to bottom. They rule different territories of Oloth at that. Buddy says, what about Rando? His name's not up there. And Rando will say that he and his army are sort of nomads. They're left alone. Well, they were until Buddy arrived at least. So, if you didn't notice, during the events of Lisa the Painful, Brad already took out 3 of the warlords here. Walk forward and Rando will throw you in another cave with him at the base of a mountain. Inside, Buddy and Rando will immediately be ambushed and knocked out. A couple of days later, voices can be heard saying, we have to tell him. If we don't, he's going to be furious. These voices then wake up Rando, now sans mask, and they ask how he's doing. But Rando can only ask, where's Buddy? They say she's a tough girl, which is good, but they had to knock her out because she was so fiery. Rando will say, they can't do that to her. What kind of message does that send about them? Rando will say, she's the future, not a slave. They then say that, not only that, one of their own guys is now dead. Because, while Buddy was knocked out and tied up, he tried to, start the future on his own, if you get what I mean. Rando will then start crawling towards Buddy's room, but because of his injuries, he can't move much. His men tell him to calm down because they're gonna fix this. And then Rando passes out from the pain. Rando will then wake up, and you can control him to crawl to the other house in the mountain, presumably where Buddy is. When you get in, those men that were talking to you are already dead. Buddy will say, of course they're already dead. They tried to lock her away in this room. Rando will ask if that's all they did, and she says, yeah. She hates being locked away. When Buddy asks Rando if he knew this men, he will say he never knew them. Buddy will say that Rando should rest now, because soon they have to get to work. Rando asks what work does she mean, but then Buddy says, oh, he'll know soon. The entire world will know soon. Rando will then pass out once again. We are then once again shown a vision of the past. This time, we are playing as someone that we don't really know. A blonde kid, one of Brad's students. Not Rando, but a different one. He walks forward and sees Lisa, who asks if he's ready to play. But then we're back in the present immediately, to Buzzo as he wakes up, to the noise of Brad as a mutant trying to escape his rope. So I guess Buzzo was another one of Brad's students, also probably involved with Lisa before she died, and by that extent, it is also likely he is the one who sawed off Rando's face, which makes a lot of sense. That's who Buzzo is. Back in the present, Buddy and Rando will stay side by side. She asks if he's ready to get to work, and Rando asks what she means. And Buddy explains that the list, well, she's going to kill the rest of the warlords on that list. She says she's not afraid. She wants to rule Olaf. She says she wants to be feared. She wants her name at the top of that list. Rando says, but look around, what already happened because of all the bloodshed? She already lost an eye and now is scarred for life. Buddy says that that's nothing. The pain of her wounds is nothing compared to the pain of being trapped. Her head and heart, that's what really hurts. Rando says they can't risk this, Buddy's the future. She then goes silent and says that Rando is starting to remind her of a lot of people. A lot of people who are already dead, ones that were killed by her or around her. She says that Rando can either sit back and watch her kill these people, or he can help her. But if he tries to stop her, she will kill him. Rando then asks what happened to her, but she only replies, are you in or out? Rando then silently joins the party. In the next room, you can rest. Buddy can rest, and Rando says he'll watch over her all night. Nothing bad can happen during resting like the first game. After this room, you are put into the first crossroads of the game, and you can technically kill them in any order you want. But your goal is fully to take out the last 6 warlords of Olaf. So let's do it. Let's get to that. Let's start from bottom to top. So the first one is Vega Van Dam. His area can be found in the top cave of the first crossroads, and it's guarded by a bunch of joy mutants. Walk through this entire area and kill everyone you can with Rando in tow until you get to his building on the far right. It's signified by the pink Vega painted at the top of the building. Entering this building will have him come out and say, so you're the one roughing up all his guys. He can't stand for that, for he is Vega Van Dam. He will then flash a pearly white grin 4 times before he realizes that Rando is with you. He asks, did Rando quit the Warlord game? As he flashes his smile 4 more times. His men will then tell him to knock it off with the smile, to which he will then smile 6 more times. Buddy will then ask only one question. Are you Vega Van Dam? To which he will say, yes. And then the fight will immediately start. He's not too hard, but he does have 2 bodyguards. He can also flash a smile at you and blind you during the fight, but there's a reason that he's the easiest on the list. Take him out. After it's all over, he will call Rando a bastard and flash 1 more smile as he dies. The screen will then turn black and the game will tell you that you learned a warlord skill, something you will get for killing each warlord. This one has a great chance to blind someone if you smile. Great. The screen will then say, the list thins. 5 remain. Head to the right of the campfire and Rando will say that Buddy should rest. She looks tired. She will take offense to that, and Rando will just say he meant no harm by the comment, he'll just watch her as she sleeps. She says that he better not fall asleep on her, and then she'll lay down. Rando will then wake her up in the middle of the night, and he'll say, he's been thinking. He asks, wouldn't she rather be doing something else than killing all these men? They could build a home somewhere safe together. She could play and do whatever she wants, away from all of this. He says a child like her shouldn't be doing this. Before the Flash, children would play all day long. Olaf used to have great fields and creeks to play in. Rando says he didn't have a great childhood, but he did have fun memories playing, and Buddy will then say, Rando, I was born into this Olaf, not whatever place you're talking about. I'm not a baby, and I'm sure as hell not some dumb country kid. Rando will look down at his failed attempt to get through as the night ends. The next morning, you get up, and the next one up is Mr. Beautiful. He has a small hole near the end of the crossroads signified by the 2 white smiling masks. Going in and down the cave, you can see a sign that says, "Violence will not be tolerated." When you walk onto his turf, Randa will say that Buddy needs to wait. Mr. Beautiful is a pacifist, and so are all of his men. He is widely respected for this, and he begs her not to kill anyone here but Mr. Beautiful himself if she really has to. You can do what you'd like here, but make your way to the end of this area to find the man himself. You will ask Randa what he's doing down here, and why his friend has a sword. Randa will then apologize to the man, and the fight will start. He will straight up not fight back. Well, until you break his mask off, and then he will. But he isn't really all that strong. Kill him and continue. Randa will say nothing after. This will give you the Warlord skill, Pacify. It will cause the entire fight to not be able to attack for 2 turns. That includes you and the enemies, which sounds like it might suck, but it gives you a free 2 turns to heal or buff without having to worry about being hit. The list thins. 4 remain. Same thing, wake up at the list and go right to the campfire. Buddy will say that she wants to sleep, but also ask if Randa wants to sleep now, and he will say no. And then she'll go to bed. He will once again watch over her and speak to her in the middle of the night. He will say that he needs to talk to her because he's running out of options. He says his real name is Dustin Armstrong, or Dusty for short. Buddy will think for a second and then say, "That's Brad's last name." He then drops the bombshell that not only was he Brad's student, but also his adopted son. Buddy will then rightfully get up and say, "What? He's your dad too?" Randa will say, "Yeah, he likes to think so." So that puts it even more into perspective at the end of Lisa the Painful. Rando fought his own father at the end for Buddy's sake, and Brad didn't even bite an eye. He continued the cycle by throwing bottles at his son and beating him within an inch of his life. Dusty then says that Brad didn't like being called dad though. Things weren't always great with Brad and him, but he still respects Brad very much, even at the end. Buddy will say that Brad didn't like her calling him dad either for some reason. It then gets awkward, but then Dusty says he guesses that makes them family, brother and sister. He then asks that she listens to her older brother once more. Buddy will not respond to this, and she says she needs to go back to sleep to process this. Dusty will then just say, "Good night," and then you'll be thrown back into the fray. Next up is Lardy. He is pretty easy. Just make your way through his area and you will get some truck keys while you're at it, giving you the ability to fast travel. Randa will once again try to stop you, but Buddy won't even reply. Walk into Lardy's truck, and Buddy will only ask if he is Lardy, and he'll say yes, and then the fight will start. Just beat him. And after, Randa will say that Lardy was a main supplier of Eastern Olaf. He was very helpful to a lot of people. He was a good guy. Buddy will ignore Big Brother and the screen will go dark and give you the Warlord skill Supply Chain, which you can use to gain a random item. The list thins. 3 remain. You will once again wake up next to the list, and you may notice there is an awful lot of bodies piling up around here now. More than before. Just go right and try to get some sleep. Dusty will see one of the kidnappers from the beginning's body and call him by name, to which Buddy will point out is strange that he knows the guy's name. But Randa will stammer and say he knows everyone's name around here. Buddy will say good riddance to him. But Randa will say she needs to stop. Stop killing people. She asks why, and Dusty will say because she alone is the future. She could restore the world, give peace. Buddy will say that he's right. She does have the power. Power to create her own future and her own world. Dusty will say that not all of these people that she killed deserved death. He can't do this anymore. She will ask how he can say that. If she didn't stand up for herself, she would have been essayed or killed several times by now. She will tell Dusty to shut up and ask what kind of brother he is. She says if he wants peace, he has no choice but to stay by her side. And if he doesn't, he's just as bad as that worthless piece of shit, Brad. He will just say, I see. I'm sorry. Get some rest. Buddy will then go to bed and wake up, and Dusty is nowhere to be seen. No ceremony or text or anything is even mentioned about this. Buddy is now alone. Next up is Dice Mahone. In his area, lots of dead bodies lie and posters with Buddy's face line the walls. One that says, "Kill this bitch if you see her." Be careful because the game has become significantly harder now without your protector Rando. Make your way to the end of this area to see a Joy Mutant. Fighting it will show that this actually is Dice Mahone. He's already turned into a Joy Mutant, which makes him either easier or harder depending on how you want to look at it. The right thing to do would be to put him down, so do so. Kill him and you will get the Warlord skill, Roll the Dice, which afflicts you with the random status effect, but gives you tons of TP, which is actually a pretty good one. The list thins. 2 remain. Back at the list, do what you normally would do, but you strangely wake up at the top of the mountain. A weirdly bulbous Joy Mutant will be up here, and it's unknown how you got here. Just kill the monstrosity and continue. Next up is Cindy Gallows. To find him, there will be a hole with an eagle on it. Jump down it, and surprisingly, you won't die. You'll fight a bunch of weird mushroom people down here, but get through it, and you will find a bunch of guys who have already gotten to Cindy. Guys in weird green costumes who have shot arrows at him. They say Cindy Gallows and his men tried to fight the beasts and deny the will of God, so they hanged him and executed him with arrows. They then say that the world must die to a glorious tune and the beasts must live on. Ignore their seemingly nonsense and fight them. And this is not the easiest fight, but take out all 4 of them. Kill them, and as you walk away, Cindy, who mind you has a broken neck and is filled with arrows, will say, "He's not dead yet," and if she wants his spot, she's gonna have to take it from him, which will launch you into the real boss of the area, who, despite looking to be on death's door, is probably the 2nd hardest warlord, appropriately. He just won't die, and he can bite down hard and do absurd damage. Just kill him and you will gain the warlord skill, Second Wind. This will allow you to revive with 1 HP if you die. Very helpful. Back at the list, there is only 1 warlord left, Big Lincoln. Walk right and you will see something is very wrong. Buddy is now having weird visions. You can see a dead Brad lining the floor and pink graffiti that says kill, kill, kill over and over, and even rando just walking around. Sleep at the campfire and continue, and someone will leave you a gift. Take it and continue. Head right to the second crossroads and find the real rando hanged by barbed wire and starting to fall. He says he needs to tell you something about the men who kidnapped you. Buddy will tell him to hang on as she grabs the thorned rope trying to get him down, but she hurts her hands doing so. She will ask what happened to him. Then the gray-haired guy from the beginning who said he wanted Buddy's sweet meat says, as she holds on for dear life for her brother, this was his perfect plan. Now he can do whatever he wants to her, as she can either take it from him or fight back and let Dusty fall to his death. Dusty begs you to let go and fight the man about to SA you, and you're given a choice. You can either drop Dusty and kill him, or hold on. Holding on, Buddy will say that she will save him, despite everything. The screen will then pan to the left and you can hear clothes rustling, but presumably before he can do anything, you can hear a trumpet or something. Then the man will ask Buddy if she heard that, and then all of a sudden, before he gets to business, that Joy Mutant from the beginning jumps and lands on him, killing him instantly, saving Buddy from her horrible fate. It will pan back over and Buddy will say, that thing saved her. Why? Dusty will say that she has to let go. She can't hold on forever. The wire is cutting into her hands. He says that she needs to know something. The men in pink that kidnapped them at the beginning, he was in on it. The bear, the flower, everything. He says that he just wanted to protect her. Then she'll say, you lied to me, and immediately drop him. Whether that was out of anger or not being able to hold on any longer, who knows? You will hear something slam into the bottom of the pit. If you go down, you will see Dusty, barely clinging to life, saying, I just wanted to protect you. Keep you safe. The screen will flash red as if that angered Buddy hearing that. She will then beat Dusty while he is dying and say, I hate you, Brad! I never wanted that! Which isn't Rando's name, obviously. She will continue to beat him, saying, I never wanted to be protected! I wanted my own life! And then she will slit his throat. Rando has died. You are now free to continue, with no ceremony for Dusty at all. Just go to the last cave of Big Lincoln. Find his cave and fight through a lot of tough guys who claim that Big Lincoln is the strongest man in the world, and walk a long line of graves and rocks up to his building. Inside, it will be very dark and hard to see, but go into the brightly colored doors until you see some red eyes of a wolf head. You will now be in the fight with the strongest man in the world, and he's not easy. He does a lot of damage and has 3 phases, 1 neutral, 1 defensive, and 1 offensive. Just beat him and get his warlord skill, Wolf Stance, which is a strong guard skill that recovers TP if you get hit, which seems really shitty, but in niche situations, it's very helpful. The list is finished. Wake back up at the list and see both Brad and Dusty looking down at you. Obviously another vision, but why is Buddy getting these visions, even if she didn't take the joy? The music changes to a weird trumpet, and you are given free reign to the end of the game. One last trial. Let's do it. Go left to the list and hear a trumpet. Walk forward past a ton of dead joy mutants and dead bodies until you reach a guy with an orange and green polka dotted shirt playing a trumpet. He is next to that one joy mutant from the beginning, and he will look at you and ask, "You haven't turned?" That's okay. You did well. He will then turn to the joy mutant and say, "Make me proud, baby." Then he will play his trumpet and walk off. And now you have to fight the mutant named Sweetheart. Sweetheart is very difficult, beyond your A game. However, after a certain amount of turns, out of nowhere, Buzzo of all people will interrupt the fight and say, "Stand back." The fight will end early and he will say, "The joy. Yato has the vaccine. It'll stop you from turning." Buddy will rightly ask what the hell he's talking about, and then he will say, "There's no time," and get moving. He'll continue to fight Sweetheart as you keep going. Walk to the next room and once again see that man, Yato, apparently, on a throne of joy mutants. They all look sad and gross and misshapen. Yato will look at you and say, "How? You aren't that strong." Buddy only asks who is he and why are the beasts obeying him. He says to leave or he'll kill her. Buddy will laugh at him and say that of all the men she's seen, he's the most pathetic. He won't kill her. He can't even look at her. Yato says that she doesn't understand, but Buddy just says she doesn't care who he is. She wants the throne. Then this will thrust you into a boss fight with a cool trumpet boss music. You will quickly notice, however, that Yato will not fight back. It will continue just saying, "Yato doesn't know what to do," or "Yato is staring blankly." However, after a while, the music will begin to muffle, and the screen will say Buddy's head starts to hurt. Yato will then begin to fight back, but something is wrong here. Even if Buddy never took joy, she's turning just like Brad at the end. Just keep fighting until Dusty's face will appear as a big blob instead. The screen will just say Buddy cannot control it. The music will change to a sad song, and often Dusty will skip turns saying, "Rando is crying deeply," or "Rando hugs you." He won't fight back either. Buddy's losing her mind. Rando also has a flower where his hand should be, just like the one Brad gave to Buddy. Just keep fighting him until he goes down. It will say Buddy's losing control, and then the only thing this Rando vision says as he goes down is, "Good luck, sis." You will now be in a bloody river, just like Brad was when he was mutating near the end. Though there are flowers all around here. Something weird is going on. Walk forward for a while until you see Brad like he was at the end. He had arrows sticking out of him, but now the arrows are replaced with flowers. Start the fight and enjoy the saddest fight of the series. It will start with a young Brad, and no matter what you do here, he will never fight back. It will just say things like, "Brad is lost." After a bit, he will transform into Brad looking at a bunch of joy pills, and he will say, "Buddy." "Yep, that's the best I could come up with." "Well, it's simple. You're my little buddy. I always called you that when you were a baby, and I guess it just stuck. Brad and Buddy." Sounded good to me. The second phase of this fight will be much the same. He won't do anything. He will occasionally take joy and heal, but he will also skip turns and it will say, "Brad doesn't know what to do." Keep fighting and he will transform to that one scene where he had makeup on early in the montage of the second game. Before he does, though, he will say, "Stop, don't call me that. I don't like it. My name's Brad, okay? Call me Brad." His name will then change to Dad. The game then will tell you things like, "Dad comforts you as he heals you," or heartbreakingly, "Dad misses you." After enough damage yet again, he will transform to how he was at the very end, bloodied and almost dead. He will say, "A boy named Dusty? Who told you that? What did I tell you about asking questions, you idiot? Don't you dare go near your uncles again, you hear me? I have no son. Never did." His name will change once again to the Nobody. He still won't fight. He will just skip turns and the game will say the Nobody's heart aches, or the Nobody wails, or the Nobody is a failure. And he'll just damage himself and it will say the Nobody hates himself. Then the most heartbreaking dialogue in the series as the vision of Brad speaks one last time as you win the fight. He says to Buddy, "You have to know this, Buddy. I was completely lost before I found you. You made me feel something again. Things no one ever made me feel. You showed me what love really is. And that's why when I look in your eyes, it's the scariest feeling in the world. It's why I buried myself so deep into darkness. But I promise you, I tried so hard to fight it. I tried. And no matter what, I really did love you with all my heart. I'm so sorry I failed you, buddy. I miss you so much. He will then fade back to the Blood River and he will say, goodbye. I believe this little scene was Buddy hallucinating hard, but in that process, she forgives Brad here fully. The fight was her fighting her feelings to finally forgive Brad and realize that although he was not a great person or great dad, in the end, he did love her very much. Back to reality, you will see that you were in fact fighting Yato the whole time while hallucinating. He will just say, my children, and he will drop the vaccine. Pick it up and go to the finale on the left. Find Yato on a cliff and Buddy will ask him what does he know. Finally, what is going on? He will turn and ask if she really wants to know, and Buddy will obviously say yes, and then he will say that Buddy is his daughter. He is her real dad. He just dropped her off at Brad's as a plan to rule the world by infecting the world with a virus that turns them into joy mutants. He would have a war and be the only one standing at the end, with the prize in the war being Buddy. But before he can say more, a sword flies and hits him in the face and he's knocked off the cliff, killing him. Buzzo will then walk in, bloodied and missing an arm, on death's door from the fight with Sweetheart. He will say, looks like you made it. And Buddy will say that she didn't need his help. But he says he didn't want her listening to that old man. He says there is something that she should know, though. Brad was a good man. He loved Buddy. It's all her fault. She twisted up so much hate in Buzzo and made him do what he did. He says when she died, he had to blame someone. Anyone but himself. He says that Brad never deserved the pain that he caused him. Neither did Buddy. Obviously, Buzzo is blaming Lisa here for the events of all the games. Buddy will then ask if Dr. Yato was telling the truth. Is he really her dad? And Buzzo will say, no. He's just a crazy scientist I worked with. He will say that he followed Brad his entire life and Buddy was the only person that gave Brad purpose. Not even Dusty did that. He says that Brad was her father, not Yato, no matter what Blood says. He says what happened wasn't Brad's fault, it was his. Buddy asks, why is Buzzo telling her this? And then Buzzo says, I guess you just reminded me of her. If it wasn't clear also, Buzzo was romantically involved with Lisa when she was young, right before she died. He is getting back at the world for her death. Buzzo says he was supposed to be Lisa's light, but instead, he let himself get pulled into the same darkness by her. It's funny. Lisa would have loved this world, he says. But he tells Buddy just use the vaccine. Save herself from turning. He will then fall and scream Lisa's name as he turns into the final boss of the series, Bernie, his real name, the Joy Mutant. He is just a standard Joy Mutant fight with a lot more HP, but after a while he will stop fighting and it will just say, Buzzo doesn't want to do this. And after even longer, he will turn into a full-fledged Joy Mutant. The music will turn to bells as he hurts himself over and over and eats himself. He isn't too hard, he just has a lot of health. After it's all over, Buddy will laugh. It's over. She did it. She's okay. Through red flashes, though, she then sees Rando, and he will ask, did she forget about him? Then Brad will also appear as a Joy Mutant, crying. She's hallucinating. She says nothing makes sense. She thought she was free. The world was hers. But Brad will come over to her, and she says she can't mutate, she can't. But then hallucination Rando says, Buddy was right. Everyone in this world needed her more than she needed them. She's a queen, a goddess. Rando will then beg her to transform into a Joy Mutant. Be with them forever. Please don't leave us, Buddy, he begs. You are then given the final choice of the series. Leave them by taking the vaccine, or join them by transforming. The choice is yours. Let's talk about both, though. If you choose to leave them and take the vaccine, the screen will cut to black, and the credits will roll with a beautiful song, and we will see the aftermath. A blue sky and Buddy a bit older near two graves, one unknown and one Rando's. She holds Yato's trumpet, the thing presumably used to control the Joy Mutants. She is near Brad's mutant form and a child. The world is perhaps healing, but in the end, Buddy is still alone. If you join them, the screen will still cut to black. The credits roll with the same song until we see the aftermath. A bloody red sky and Buddy transformed into a mutant. She is with her father. Brad's form is destroyed, presumably by the mutant Buddy. She stares over at a dead Dusty, but she is now with her family. Once again. But that's it, right? Our two options for the end. Well, not exactly. There's a third. However, it is only in the definitive edition of the game. The ending where we break the cycle. We see it's not Lisa's fault after all in this ending, like both of the other endings imply. So let's see how we do it. To get this ending, we need a very specific item obtained by doing a lot of stuff. We also can never take joy throughout the entire playthrough, despite how easy it is in this game to find. Then you have to go through a series of hoops that I will describe really fast to get 9 items that mirror Lisa the First's items that we talked about in the first section of the video like 2 hours ago. The first item you need is the garden gloves. The way to get this is there's a fence right next to the list. Walk behind it until you can no longer see Buddy in it anymore, and then interact with it. It should bring you into the first cave. Once you are in there, there should be another fence identical to the one you just did that on. Do the same thing you did before and enter the next area with a bunch of grass. Then there's a secret item behind the tall grass on the top left, which is the garden gloves, which mirror the first game's working gloves. The next secret item is clean water. It's as simple as using Tardy's Warlord skill over and over until you get the secret item, clean water. This mirrors the rum from Lisa the First. Next up is the blue key, obviously mirroring the red key from the first game. This one's a little more difficult, but if you go to Big Lincoln's area, there's a bunch of rocks before his boss fight. Click all of them once and then go to where you fought Big Lincoln and find a statue with the blue key in its mouth. Take it. Next up is the stitches, mirroring the razor from the first game. To find it, go back to where you fought Dice Mahone. Next to his battlefield will be a dead body. Search it 14 times for some reason, and you will get the stitches. After that is the Ipecac syrup. There's a hidden area where someone similar to Terry sits there, and if you talk to him, he will offer you a mask, as well as an easy mode if you really want it for 500 magazines. Take the mask, and then put it on, and then talk to him again. He will say, "Your outfit's disgusting," and he will give you the Ipecac. This mirrors the pills from the first game. The sheath is next, but first you need the ceremonial sword, and to get it, you go to Mr. Beautiful's area and jump off the left-hand side of the screen. Enter a blue door with the blue key, and find the sword inside. This ceremonial sword mirrors the katana from the first game. After that is the goldfish, which mirrors the plastic baggie, somehow. This one is easy. All you have to do is wait in the cave near Tardy's battlefield for 3 minutes, and a goldfish will be dropped by a squirrel. Next up is the tiny picture, which is in that first cave we went to when we got the gardening gloves. Go behind the fence again until you're fully obscured and hit the interact button and get to the first cave again. Do not do it again to get to the grasslands though. Just go all the way to the right in the first cave and you can find the tiny picture, which mirrors the necklace. Finally is the incomplete hand, which mirrors the finger from the first game. To find it, all you have to do is go to the far right of the entire map and climb up a long rope, which is a seemingly joke reference to the first game with that middle finger at the beginning that makes you climb all the way up. But if you go up there, you can use the ceremonial sword to cut the hand and take the entire hand instead, giving you the final secret item. After you have all these 9 items, you should fast travel back to the list, where you will go back to where you found those garden gloves in that meadow. You will then notice a single flower in that meadow. Go to it, hit escape on it as if you're pausing. This will transport you to a new area. This new area is a pink room with a bunch of statues. A blank one with Rando, one with Marty, one with Brad, one with Lisa, one with Yato, one with Buzzo, one with Sticky, and finally one more blank one. You need to destroy them in a particular order. This order is based on a poem from a secret poem you could find in Lisa the Painful. The poem reads, "No friends, no brothers, no fathers, no mothers, just me." Therefore, you should destroy the statues in the order of Sticky, Buzzo, Dusty, Brad, Yato, Marty, then the first blank one, then the second blank one. After this, interact with the Lisa statue. Then you will have to place the items you got in the secrets in the same order as they were displayed in the inventory in the game Lisa the First. The correct order being garden gloves, clean water, blue key, stitches, Ipecac, ceremonial sword, goldfish, tiny picture, and then finally the incomplete hand. Put them in that order on the pedestals and you can return to the list. After you do that, there's a new door on the list. Go up to it and then go all the way to the right where you will fight all 9 warlords at once. This to me is the hardest fight in the series, until you realize you're not supposed to win. If you use pacify a lot and only heal or defend and never attack, they will start questioning you. They will ask, why aren't you attacking them? These ghosts will begin to get furious at the end, but then sad after you don't attack. They will end the fight by saying, please don't leave us. After that, you can leave the cycle of violence behind and escape and leave. This is signifying Buddy walking away, ending the cycle, moving on from the past. You can technically actually fight all of them, but it's nearly impossible to win. After you beat all of them or run away, you then get the nipple. Yep, the one from the last game. Yay! You'll need it, trust me. After it's all over, you have to get another secret item to move on. A joy mask, like from Buzzo's people. To get one of those, you have to go to the secret area in Dice Mahone's cave. Once you find it, you'll be on an island and you have to grab some TNT hidden at the top of the island. So if you enter a certain grass patch that is shown on screen, you'll be at a funeral, one that if you look right... Oh god, this fucking guy again? Ignore him and head left through the wall and you will get the green mask. Take this green mask and blow up a rock in the second crossroads with the TNT. You will first find a joy mutant here that is very reminiscent of Marty from Lisa the First when he's that huge blob at the end. Kill him and you will get the best sword in the game. But then continue down into the cave and inside you will find a new house. Enter it and find a secret room on the fourth cloth from the left by interacting with it. The next room you have to punch the punching bag 19 times. Once again, no idea what the significance of either of these numbers are. But then after you will then find a secret refuge of the Joy Cultists. Pick up the Joy Mask and leave. Now you need to find where it all started. The lab that made the Joy drug. To find it, go to the village in the first crossroads. That I didn't talk about because it's mostly just shops. But jump off the cliff as soon as you get into the left, seemingly to your death, to find the Joy Lab. Inside, it's quite different from everywhere else in the entire series. But go through it until you get to a final room where a funeral is, like from Brad's vision in Lisa the Painful. At the end, there is a note that says, I am sorry, but I can't do it anymore. But I love you. To the right, you will see a memory of Buzzo, of all people. Him being haunted by Lisa, her ghost haunting his mind, saying things like, let's go play, or are you with someone else? Or, you promised me you wouldn't hurt me, not like they do. Or, you can't leave me, I love you so much. And then, as Buzzo, you will see Brad, and then Lisa will tell Buzzo to make him suffer. Then a different voice will say that he's here to set Buzzo free. If you go back to the funeral and seemingly go left through a fake wall, you will get to another blue door. Enter it and see all of Brad's friends, and by extension, Buddy's uncles. They will talk about how bad they feel about how everything went down. How they should have tried harder. And told Buddy about Brad's past and why he did what he did. But it's too late now. They're all dead. But despite it all, they love Brad still. To the right of this hallucination is a bunch of young Brads dancing around. Inside the house, you will see a happy family. But then they disappear and leave Lisa alone on the floor. Upstairs, you can find a few things. In Lisa's room, you can find a human child's skull. The game will say if you stare into it long enough, it looks like your skull. Buddy's skull. On the left of this room is Dusty's sawed-off face. He will say that he thought he had a rough, but seeing what his adoptive sister went through was horrible. He laments that he should have been tougher, stronger, more firm, aggressive, but he says he just truly hates fighting. He always wanted to avoid conflict, but his master Brad taught him better than that. He apologizes to Buddy and says above all else, he had to believe in his own way, something she knows all too well. It takes many eyes to see the world for what it really is. Him, Brad, Bernie, and even Buddy. They all had different ways of facing the past, and it shaped each of them differently. They all fought their demons in different ways. Everyone follows the path they think is right, hoping for that one little chance to heal, and not just themselves, but the ghosts they've left behind too. He says he feels something new with Buddy though, something growing that started a long time ago, and whatever it is, she needs to nurture and grow it. He ends his speech, and his last line in the game series is, "Good luck, sis." Go now to the far right room to find a giant breast without a nipple. Yep, not gonna show it, but go to it and you can find near it the sacred nipple. Yay! And use said nipple on the breast to repair it. The screen will grow noticeably lighter, and now you can enter the right side of the boob. It will transport you to a completely white room where only flowers grow. At the end, you can find a new flower, an orange one. Grab it, and Buddy will place the flower in the child's skull, giving you the item, the flowering skull. The final thing you need. You can now return to the ending as normal. Everything will be the same other than when you start the fight with the final boss, being Bernie/Buzzo. When Buzzo says the line, "That girl would have loved it here," it will change. Buddy will snap at him this time and says, "Liar." He'll ask what she means, and Buddy will say that he's on his knees just spewing empty apologies now, blaming everybody else for what happened. This isn't Lisa's fault, it's nobody's fault. Everybody was doing what they thought was right. And now Buzzo was just shifting the blame to someone else again. Buddy then tells Bernie, I quote, "Maybe she would be alive if she never met you." This causes Buzzo to transform early and cry for his binky, which is something, but then the end will continue as normal. However, if you never took any joy and then take the vaccine at the end, you will get the real ending. Instead of Buddy with the trumpet overlooking everything, she will be swallowed in cloth by a strange Virgin Mary-like figure, her wounds healed, and flowers growing all around. What this means is ambiguous, and I want to hear what you guys think this ending means. But I believe this means Buddy finally broke the cycle. However, that is it. Finally, after 67 pages of script, that is the Lisa series. But what does it all mean? What is the message? What about the characters? Well, let's get into that. But before we do, in the comments, I want to know what you think this whole thing means. Also, who's your favorite character? Mine's Rando, by the way, but I want to know yours and why. Why? I really love this story, and I have a soft spot for stories involving fathers trying to do what's right, despite them being painfully flawed, like Invincible, or The Last of Us, or Van Hohenheim and Edward in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, or Endeavor and Shoto in My Hero Academia, or Askeladd and Thorfinn in Vinland Saga, or Kratos and Atreus, you know, all those kind of things. So the story strikes a chord with me, I guess. Maybe because I don't have a great relationship with my own father. Dad, if you're watching this, your dog should have Call of Duty. So finally, though, let's talk about the characters first. Let's start with Lisa herself, the namesake of the series. She is the start of the trauma, right? Well, probably not. Marty was probably in some way originally a victim himself, but we'll get into Marty later. Lisa is simply the start of a new cycle. She is a person who has undergone complete destruction of her psyche. In Hidden Areas, we can hear her talk about the past, and we learn that she likes to maim cats or animals or something. She is a really broken person. Not her fault, of course, but she is an SA survivor that unfortunately couldn't take the abuse anymore. She tried to cope with using Buzzo and Brad, but in the end, it was too much for the poor girl. Her death at her own hands is, in essence, the core of the series. It is the thing that puts everything into perspective, and the events that happen because of her death. Brad Armstrong is next. He is simply a manifestation of survivor's guilt. He is that idea to a T. He copes with drugs, alcohol, and tries everything he can to escape what happened to him, in both his abuse and Lisa's death. He calls Buddy his second chance over and over, but he's only saying that because that's all she is to him at first. A way to fix the past, to atone. However, as good as that sound, she is not a second chance. She is a human being. She has thoughts and actions of her own. She's not a replacement for Lisa, she is a human. He is tragic in that, in his efforts to avoid becoming like Marty, he becomes nearly identical to Marty. He is abusive, not sexually, but certainly physically. He tries to escape his pain through drugs, just like his father did with alcohol. And then he realized, at least a little, what was wrong through his own pain and tried to fix it. Only he doesn't realize this isn't something you can fix. He's trying to control the situation through burying it, instead of facing it. Brad is broken, and as a result, he breaks others, like Buddy. Marty is my favorite subject, the cycle of abuse. Though we never see it, it is implied that Marty suffered somehow and to become the way that he is. He was probably a victim in some way himself and ended up continuing the cycle. When you watch his VHS, he is just having a tea party with Lisa. In his own head, he loves his daughter very much. He rationalizes it. He is flawed, but he loves his daughter in his head. Sound familiar? He's just like Brad. Even when you think you are trying to escape the cycle of abuse, you're still in it. Both Brad and probably Marty believed that they were not like their abuser, but in the end, it was a mirror. I mean, they even look very similar at the end. Let's talk about Buddy now. Buddy is a lot of things to a lot of people. A daughter and a second chance to Brad. A political pawn for Yato. A sexual fantasy to probably millions of men. A solution to the world's biggest problem to Brad's friends. A sister and savior to Rando. But the one thing that she is not to any of these people is a person. To everyone, she is a tool, for better or worse. She is a tool to the world. When the only thing she wants is to be a person. Something she obviously already is, but she sees it as having to eliminate all the labels. The whole point of her story is to have the freedom to choose her own ending. She is the freedom. What will you do with the cycle of abuse? Change it? Become part of it? Or in the Flowered Skull ending, finally, break it? Buzzo is very interesting and kind of an amazing character despite being so monstrous. He is the exact opposite of the normal trope you see in media of guilt eating someone away from the inside. Someone blaming themselves for the absolute horror of certain trauma, like Brad. But Buzzo is the opposite. What happens when the hatred from guilt is not pushed inside but pushed outside? Buzzo blames everyone. The world is what happened to Lisa. It was Marty's fault, then it was Brad's fault, then it was Lisa herself's fault. Only in the flower ending do I think that Buzzo finally gets it after Buddy points it out to him. There is no fault. The only way one can change is starting with themselves, which ironically happens after Buzzo realizes this, though it's into another monster, unfortunately. Rando is my favorite character, and the reason for that is he is a truly strong character in a broken world. Someone who, to the player, looks like the pinnacle of goodness in a broken world. A truly kind man. However, he isn't. He too was affected by the trauma without him even realizing it. Though he is a very kind person and seems to be doing good for the world, he still sees Buddy as a symbol. It's a good symbol, but a symbol nonetheless, not a person. Rando is a good person, but a good person in a world still affected by the cycle. And therefore he is also affected by it. Okay, let's talk about the actual message now. I do a lot of tough stories and I like to talk about on my channel, and a lot of them have to do with the cycle of abuse. And this one I believe is the absolute pinnacle of that theme. However, it also has a lot to do with escapism and trying to escape the cycle that inevitably will pull you back in. The drug of joy is almost a metaphor for trying to force healing. Not just necessarily drugs, but escapism as a whole. However, it has positive effects too. Joy helps you cope. It makes you stronger. It makes the game easier, which is the truth for trauma as well. Taking joy is like repressing your trauma. At first, it might help. It might help you cope. But if you keep taking it over and over like a drug, it will turn you into a monster. One stripped of humanity. One that cries because they just wanted relief. Another slightly less obvious theme is the idea of trying to change the past. Everyone tries to change the past, or in a better sense of the word, tries to make the past right. But that cannot be done. Nothing can make right all of the abuse that all of these individuals suffered. The only thing you can do is change what happens next. Choose what to do next. Brad spent so much time trying to use what he learned to figure out what he was going to do next to fix his past. When in actuality, he should be not making the same mistake again instead of trying to fix the past. The past is the past. Accept it. No matter how hard it is, no matter how painful, nothing good will ever come trying to change it or make it right. The only thing that can be done is to learn from it and make changes in the future. Another one is how love can be used as evil, a theme we have covered pretty extensively on this channel as well. When is love no longer love, but something else? What Brad does to Buddy, you'd still call that love, right? Probably. But would you call what Marty felt towards Lisa love? Probably not, right? So where's the point? Was what Brad did to Buddy love or obsession? Was what Marty did to Lisa love or something far, far worse? Something to ponder. But I think the real message of the series is one simple question. What do we do with guilt? What is the proper way to deal with it? Bury it, like Brad? Deny it even happened, like Marty? Force it outwards, like Buzzo? Inherit it, like Buddy? Or something else? And I think, like the gameplay shows at the very end with Lisa, it's nearly impossible to break the cycle. It's confusing and involves a lot of stepping through hoops. Why does the game seem so real, though, compared to everything we've covered on this channel, or a lot of media that covers trauma that doesn't feel as real? Why? I believe that this game does something special in that regard. Generally, trauma and horrible things like this are seen through a very serious lens, because they typically are very serious subjects. And the reason this game feels more than that is because although those subjects are very serious and deep and depressing, life isn't. Sure, it's serious, but it's also funny. It's absurd. You can be laughing one minute, then the world can break you the next for something like abuse, or death, or even love. The game feels so real, and it makes the trauma feel so much more authentic, because in the real world, you aren't always in a serious mood and in your feels. You might be watching a funny movie when you learn a family member died. It's unexpected. But when those moments happen, it makes them all the more real. Thank you for watching. This video is one I have thought about doing for a long time, and I started the script on the 9th of February, and I am finishing it on the 14th of February. That is 5 days. I wrote 67 pages of script. That's fucking crazy, and I need a break now. But this game is very near and dear to my heart, and I believe it is truly one of the very few games I would call a masterpiece from start to finish. I apologize if this video is late. I am currently in the process of moving out, and doing a super in-depth video like this at the same time is sort of wearing me thin here, but I am passionate about it, and I want to get it out as soon as possible. But I also want to get it right. So I'm going to elect to take until Friday the 20th to get this out. I also wanted to say that after I played through all of the games the first time, I really did not like Lisa the Joyful at the end. I felt when Yato came out with all this crazy shit happening right at the end, it kind of jumped the shark a bit. It, to me, felt like it took the really interesting setting of Lisa the Painful Maid and made it too big of a plot point. However, I now believe that it is necessary because of how the world is affected by trauma and everything else, so I appreciate it all the more. If you want to be like all these people you see on screen right now, you can head on over to my Patreon and become a super supporter, which of course is not necessary but appreciated. Even just watching this far in is amazing, and any of you that got to it are awesome, because I get to share my view on this piece of art with all of you. So I can really not say in words how much you all mean to me, but thank you. Truly. I will see you all next time. Bye.